Yeah, Roland? Oh, did you have a question, Roland?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
I was just adjusting my screen.
Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. All right, so, okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. And Roland, at this point, do we vote on,
Yes, you could adopt the local law.
okay, so I'll make a motion to adopt the local law, rescind the local laws regarding Bureau of Fire Prevention.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. All right, thank you, gentlemen. All right, our next public hearing this evening is for the establishment of the Somer Sewer District Number 2 at Lake Janorac and Lake Lincolndale. This is a continuation. I make a motion to open this.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. And just a comment before we take public comment on this is that I would ask residents making comments to keep their comments to the topic, that there be no ad hominem attacks on character or ethics of the elected officials or anyone else on the call. Departure from that will not be tolerated.
Yeah,
So-
we've had enough of that already.
Yeah, it does not contribute to a good meeting. Okay, so the meeting is now open. We'll take public comment. We're going to start off with, as in the past, as always, we invite people to make comments or send us emails with questions. And we do have a list of questions and emails that have been sent in that we will address first, and then we'll take anybody that's on the phone or on Zoom. So Councilman Clinch, you want to start off with?
All right. I'm the official reader for the evening. We have questions from several people. I'll take the first ones, which are the most number of questions, I assume, gathered from a number of people by Linda Luciano. The first question is, if you're not able to hold informational meetings and proper public hearings during a pandemic, why are you continuing? So it sounds like a legal question. Perhaps the Roland would want to answer that.
Sure. Well, there were 3 public hearings in 2019, pre-COVID, and this is the 3rd evening in 2020 of public hearings. I don't know how many informational meetings were held, probably 6 or more over the time. Informational meetings are not a requirement under the law. They are entirely optional, but many occurred. All the public hearings have been in accordance with the governor's proclamations and his executive orders, which he has steadfastly updated. We're in accordance with all of those. And the public hearings have all been entirely valid and been conducted in accordance with law.
Right, and I would just add to that the Hudson Valley has had at the time progressed through the 4 phases of reopening on July 8th. So that is the current operation, and that were the orders that we're currently under, and everything that Roland just referenced. Okay, next.
Well, Roland, on that topic, is there a state requirement for a certain number of public hearings be held before a law is adopted? Is there a number?
Only one. We only have to have one night of a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had many where we've only had one and we closed it
Well,
very quickly.
Cumulatively on this, you will have had 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
All right.
held the public hearings open, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So we purposely did not close them.
All right, I'm going to just ask that we get through the questions.
All right,
Good
well,
idea, good idea.
just-
No more
Quite a
comments.
few.
The second question is, why isn't the public hearing from August 20th of this year being shown on channel 20. You only see the planning and zoning board meetings.
Okay, I will take that one. The videographer placed the 8:20 public hearing on channel immediately after the meeting, and it was up there to be seen. Next question?
Why aren't you allowing absentee ballots during COVID-19 like the governor is doing for the general election? Residents who drive or fly in for the vote have to quarantine for 14 days first. Roland?
Well, in a new development, the governor has issued an executive order allowing absentee ballots because of COVID in all elections and referenda. So Somers will be permitting absentee and mail-in ballots in this referendum as well.
All right, so that's a change.
You
Okay.
want
Yes.
to explain how do you get an absentee ballot?
I think
That's-
probably Patty could do that better than I.
Do we want to wait until this is over?
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I can do it now. I'm prepared. It's just,
Those specifics,
Okay,
because we'll be sending out a lot of guidance on this.
all right.
All
Just
right, we'll
wanna
move on.
Make sure we cover it.
Okay. You say, I guess meaning the town board, that the controller is dictating how we vote, and the Westchester Board of Election tells us that for a special election, it's the town's decision. The question is, so who is lying? I presume, I guess someone is. There might be a difference of opinion here. Roland, can you shed light on this one?
Yeah, the Board of Elections, I think, indicates that the town has certain procedural discretion, but we don't have discretion on topics that are covered under state law. Maybe the best way to get at it is for me to just simply read the paragraph that I may have read before, but it's a case note under section 209 of town law, and it reads as follows. Only owners of taxable real property located in a proposed water or sewer district are entitled to vote in a special election on a proposition to establish a water or sewer
All
district.
right, you,
And each owner is entitled to a single vote regardless of the number of parcels owned and situated within the proposed district. So we have no discretion. That is the status of the law. You have to
Right.
be on a deed in order to have a vote. And even if you own more than one parcel, you only have one vote. State law, not the town of Somers law, it's state law.
Okay, so but you mentioned 209.
209 of town law of the state of New York.
Okay,
all right.
Very
So
good.
controller controls some things and Westchester controls some others. Anything else? No? Number 5, how can we be sure that this vote will be done the right way and can trust the process? We would like to have a paper ballot with a simple yes or no on it, and it needs to be televised and counted by both sides like the school budget was done. All right, is this a legal question also?
I think Patty has some suggestions on how that should be handled.
so, we are getting a voting machine from the Board of Elections. The Board of Elections will do the final count of that machine. Any absentee or affidavit ballots will be counted by me, my staff, and other townhouse personnel. We will do that publicly at another time, at a date after the 10th.
okay.
All right, does that answer the question?
It will not be televised, though. This will be a public, we will go with the amount of people we can allow in the meeting room. And we will open all affidavit and absentee ballots publicly. But as far as the vote, that they will be voted into the voting machine and counted at the Board of Elections.
All right, Patty, I think you may want to just add to that. We have to get certified.
Election inspectors, and we will have Board of Elections technicians on call to help if there's any machine issues. and if there's a machine issue before the Board of Elections personnel gets there, there will be affidavit ballots that will be prepared and so you will able to be vote by paper and counted at a later date publicly.
Great, thank you.
So Patty, all the votes are going to be counted by the Board of Elections.
Only the votes that are cast that night will be
In the
voted,
machine.
will be in the machine. Any
Good.
other vote that is cast either by mail-in ballot or affidavit ballot will be validated and counted publicly by me.
Good, excellent. Thank you, Patty.
All right. The next question is about, has to do with last year. Why was our petition last year done with only one vote per household, but the vote is not being done the same way now?
Different sections of law control the submission of a petition versus the way the actual vote is conducted. The town did it properly. The change this time will be there's no need for a petition. The town board, if it acts, will act subject to mandatory referendum, meaning that you're bringing on the vote yourselves. So the residents will not have to circulate a petition. It will not have to be verified in order to bring on a vote.
Okay, move on. Why are you not posting these meetings and the sewer information in the Somers Record on the front page so people know about it?
Because we don't run the Somers Record.
So all our notices regarding town board meetings, public hearings are sent out to the media. We have no control what they pick up. And also, mind you, these lake communities probably total about 1,000 residents, and we're a town of 24,000. So once again, it's the media's choice whether they pick these things up or not.
All right. Number 8, why didn't you do a mailer to residents about these meetings? You spent $13,000 on a PR firm to assist you in mailers and getting information out. What have they done?
Okay, well, as sure our town clerk can attest, mailings are very expensive. And we do put all town board meetings are publicized, and we have a laundry list of media outlets that we send these out to. It's on our website. Most people in the town of Somers do check our site. They know when these meetings are, but for us to have to mail individual household notices of upwards of 6 or 7 meetings that we've had would be cost prohibitive.
Okay. This one is connected, not exactly about the sewers, but it is connected. When is the first scheduled cleaning of the sediment and phosphorus out of the tanks at Shenorock Lake? It's been about 18 months since it was installed.
Sure. So this is Steve Robbins from Woodard and Curran. I can address this. I spoke with Highway Superintendent Nick DeVito earlier today. The Highway Department is the one that conducts the cleaning of catch basins and the maintenance of the stormwater structures in the town. The basins that are being referred to at Shenorock are inspected twice per year and cleaned out as necessary, which is in accordance with the manufacturer's requirements. When those basins were commissioned, the manufacturer was on site and went through those procedures with the town. They have been cleaned once as necessary since they were installed.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, number 10, another cleaning question. When are you cleaning out the basins in Lincolndale that are all clogged and not working?
Sure. So I asked this question of Nick as well when I spoke with him. Catch basins across the town are cleaned out regularly as time allows. Typically, they do it when they're not able to pave or mow or do other activities. And they typically get to basins around town 2 to 4 times per year, depending on the basin and depending on the year. There is a basin in Lincolndale that was actually found last spring It's not on town records. It appears to have been privately installed quite a while ago, not installed by the town. And that basin does have a significant backup of sediment in it due to an undersized outlet pipe. That basin in particular was last cleaned out in late February or early March. And that's the last update on that particular catch basin that I have.
Thank you.
Nothing else? Next question. What if we, meaning the residents who will vote, what if we don't grant permission for an easement on our property? So the individual homeowner says, I'm not going to grant that permission, have an easement for the pipes to go through or whatever. What happens then? So that, I guess, is a legal question.
Well, the property owner will have to pay for the connection themselves at some date. And when the pipe is available in front of their homes, they're going to begin paying the annual costs that are involved, whether they're connected or not. That's the way the law reads. You can't expect all these outside funding agencies to deliver all this money to the town and then have a pipe in front of the homes that's not connected to the homes
Without contributing.
without contributing.
So the idea is in a district, all are in or nobody's in, I guess. Yeah.
Correct. And if you choose not to connect, you're still
That's your
going to
choice.
pay, and you're not going to get the benefit of the town or the district paying for the hookup initially. So if you don't want to give an easement, you're at some future date, so either you or the future owner is going to connect, but they're going to do it at their own cost.
So we'd pay more. Okay. Anything else? Anybody?
Nope.
All right. Next question. Why didn't you contact residents in the last 2 years to see if we wanted this? Other towns asked their residents beforehand to get an idea. Did we not do that?
This project has been the subject of frequent and ongoing discussions on the public forums for years. There's been more than ample opportunity for residents of both these lake communities to take advantage of coming in and during public comment or during public forums or during public hearings. So I
Rick,
think we've gone above and beyond.
Yes.
As far
if I could add too, Rick, why didn't we contact the residents in the last 2 years to see if we wanted this? You know what? We're doing the ultimate. The vote will determine if the residents want it.
Yeah,
We can't have a straw poll because for every person that says they don't want it, we hear from people who do want it. I just think the people who do want it are probably maybe not as outspoken. But this is exactly what we're looking to do, is to have a vote so the people who it's going to affect can say if they want it or not. And then we will stick with whatever the vote comes out.
thank you. Okay, next.
The next question has to do with alternatives. Some people have done research, which is really interesting. And it says, why haven't you looked into cheaper alternatives to putting in a sewer?
Sure, I can address that. A number of other options have been reviewed. Not all of them are eligible for the $10 million in seed money from the DEP. And sewer diversion, that is centralized sewers that take the wastewater out of the DEP watershed, is the most effective at removing these sources of pollution from the DEP watershed, which is why it was selected. Other options might require homeowners to come up with money up front to install systems that would be less uniformly installed across the district area. And so centralized sewers was a part of the Croton watershed plan that DEP approved for several priority areas, including Shenorock and Lincolndale.
Thank you.
So the DEP money was aimed at sewers. That was the purpose of it. Is that what you're saying?
The DEP money is aimed broadly at watershed improvements, and there are a lot of things that are eligible for funding under the DEP. Sewers came about as a result of the sewer diversion study that was required by the memorandum of agreement between the county and the DEP to look at what areas should be sewered. And that was subsequently reaffirmed by the Croton Plan, which is part of the MOA and approved by the DEP, to prioritize sewering in certain areas of the county, both in Westchester and in Putnam counties. And the Northern Westchester Watershed Coalition of Towns affirmed the prioritization of sewer diversion for 5 priority areas in 2002 and regularly thereafter, which includes sewers in Shenorock and Lincolndale.
Okay. This is from Lincolndale. When are you cleaning out the basins in Lincolndale? Oh, wait, no. we did
No.
that. We
Number
did that.
14, Rich, number
Right.
14.
Why haven't you put in an aeration system in Lake Shenorock to combat the algae issue?
Sure. So an aeration system is a temporary measure that addresses phosphorus only. It's not a long-term solution, and it doesn't address a lot of the other pollutants other than phosphorus. In-pond remediation, including aeration and dredging, was proposed to the residents in Shenorock a number of years ago is part of the Shenorock Park District that was proposed, and ultimately that was not supported by the residents, so the town did not proceed at that time.
Thank you.
All right. Next, if stormwater runoff is the issue in our communities, how do you plan on addressing this if sanitary sewers go in?
I don't know if anyone would like to add anything to this, but I know that the town has been, and I assume will continue to pursue funding opportunities for projects to address stormwater runoff across the town, not just in Lincolndale and Shenorock. And I would expect that that would continue whether the sewer district moves forward or not. It's a separate and parallel path towards addressing water quality issues in the town, but separate and distinct from the proposed sewer project.
Right, and I think I would just add to that, that in fact, that retrofit that was installed in Lake Shenorock is an example. We are trying to seek funds to do the same thing in Lincolndale. And that's an ongoing effort with our grant writer.
Yeah, and I would just add to that we're also initiated some conversations with the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation to look at some additional stormwater improvement measures in both communities. Those are at the beginning stages, but we are also pursuing those options with the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation as well.
Thank you.
All right. Next question. The engineer said that you can only borrow $16 million. That was in the original resolution that the town board passed, if no outside funding is available. So who is getting sewers for $16 million? And where is that in your map, plan, and report?
So the board's discussion on this item in the past has been that there's no intention to install sewers with debt service only. Debt service would be leveraged as a part of typically required local matching requirements for outside grant funding. And that debt service is subject to town board approval. Since the maximum expenditure for the district borrowing is limited, it doesn't make sense to borrow funds for sewer construction that doesn't use that borrowing as leverage for grant requirements as part of a local matching requirement. That's been the board's discussion in the past on that item.
Right.
Wouldn't vote on anything other than that.
Anything else anybody to add?
No.
Okay. You have not had any, next question. You've not had any informational meetings since the report was revised. You canceled the one on March 25th because of COVID-19. Aren't you supposed to hold informational sessions?
They are not required under the law.
Okay, so we're not supposed to. Okay.
But I would also echo with the points we started out in the beginning, right? Which is there have been a very much number of informational hearings as well as public hearings on the topic. I just wanted to make sure we pointed that out.
Right, I guess I would.
And we've responded to the public by changing some of this from a progressive type of, cost to a flat cost. right?
Right.
And largely, the program as itself hasn't really changed in the sense that it's been a $65 million project with $16 million of funding, roughly $45 million of grant money. That's been the prerequisite of the entire program. Things that have changed have been trying to reduce the cost, to the homeowners. So essentially, you're rolling out a phase one with 130, right, homes. You're going to essentially use the $10 million to get the project done, and there won't be any financing during that period. So we'll move forward from there as the grant process allows us to do that, which is on an annual cycle. So you're going to get portions of grant that's going to require a match. And at that point, the match will be, we'll use the financing to perform the match. And hopefully, if we got 100% match, we wouldn't have to finance, right? 100% grant, we wouldn't have to finance.
Right, well, like the East of Hudson money, there's no match
Right.
there. That's $10
Exactly.
million that's been delegated to Somers. I would just add to that, the fact that we did send out to every resident the map, plan, and report, which has all this information about the sewer district formation, financing, and where it goes, what each individual household will be charged. So I'm confident that the town of Somers has followed meeting procedures, gotten the information out to the residents, and hopefully that is appreciated. Okay, next question, Rich.
I think it's fair to say the town board individually and collectively has made a commitment, though, to do everything possible to reduce the cost. The average homeowner, I don't think anyone's taken that lightly. And we've made that commitment to not go forward without that grant funding to reduce the cost as much as possible. And we revised the plan along the way to reduce the initial upfront costs, including those who are not in phase one, not having to pay for it until they are eligible to receive that sewer to their house. So there have been good suggestions from people. We've taken those, and they're all an attempt to reduce the cost to people. Nothing comes free, obviously, but I think that's been the commitment we've made.
And the
All right, next
folks
question.
and the folks in phase one, Steve, it's going to be far less, maybe half of the $1,100, right?
Yep, $591, yes.
Right. So there's no financing. The 591 just is the operations and maintenance and the buy-in cost to the sewer district, right? I mean, to the Peekskill County sewer plant.
Correct.
Okay. Why isn't Horton Estates being included, since some are on the lake and between the lake and the reservoir? They affect the water supply also.
Yep, so they certainly do. The homes in Horton Estates, by and large, are larger properties than those in what might be considered Shenorock proper. And so their density of septics is less, and those larger properties have a better ability to distribute that wastewater from the septic system and to support compliant, functional, modern septic systems at that lower density. It's certainly possible that the district could be expanded to include Horton Estates in the future, but it was not included in this proposal.
Thank you.
If Lake Lincolndale is not going directly into the reservoir, why are they being included?
Sure. Lake Lincolndale was also identified as a priority sewer diversion community in the initial sewer diversion study that was done after the memorandum of agreement between the county and DEP was developed. Lake Lincolndale drains into the Plum Brook, which feeds the Muscoot Reservoir. Lake Lincolndale consists of densely developed small lots in the city watershed, just like Shenorock. And those are the areas that are targeted by the DEP for sewer diversion to remove that wastewater from the watershed. In addition to the benefits to surface water and reservoir water quality, Lincolndale community relies on private wells. So the benefits of the sewer are even greater in Lincolndale than they are in Shenorock because it's helping protect the drinking water quality for those residents. providing long-term benefits to them to protect the safety of their drinking water.
Thank you.
All right. Luciano, question number 21. Why aren't you looking at bringing water mains into Lake Lincolndale? I guess that goes sort of on the heels of the previous question.
Yeah, I'm not aware that the town is considering bringing public water and the expense of doing so into Lake Lincolndale. I think the Shenorock residents will attest to the cost of doing that in addition to any other infrastructure project. So by bringing sewer to that community, it does help protect their drinking water quality through the wells that they have.
Right, and I would just add in, Roland, it's my understanding that if there was a large body of residents in Lincolndale that wanted water, they could petition the town to pursue such a project, is my
Correct.
understanding.
That's correct.
Right. And of course, we look for grants for that. Maybe they will be available at some time as water purity and drinking water will become an increasingly important issue regionally in the state and across the United States and in the world as time goes on. So there will be programs, I would imagine, targeting that.
Only hope.
Got to be an optimist.
Yeah.
Next one. What are you doing to address the rust in the Shenorock water mains?
So I spoke with Adam Smith, the superintendent of the MWOC Shenorock Water District, and discussed the program that they follow for regular maintenance, flushing, and repairs of the water mains in the Shenorock area. Some of them are old, some of them are unlined cast iron mains, and that's what is the primary contributor to rusty water. But Adam is aware of that and regularly conducts maintenance to minimize the impact.
Right. Okay. Funding question. Why did the outside funding number go down from the last report from 47.5 million to 46 million?
Sure. So when we restructured the project to go from an ad valorem or property value based assessment of costs to a flat fee, we did try to keep the average cost per household the same, and that resulted in a rebalancing of the local borrowing versus outside funding costs. I think the intent is to get as much or more outside funding as can be received to minimize the debt that the district needs to take on and get that number higher than 47 and a half if possible.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? This one has to do with streams. Have you tested the streams feeding our lakes from the Putnam County border?
So I'm not aware of any water quality testing that's been conducted at the Putnam County border. The upstream watershed is a mix of residential, commercial, and forested land covers. And that upstream land use does contribute pollutants to the DEP reservoirs. Those upstream areas don't have the same level of density of septic systems that the Shenorock and Lincolndale communities have. And so they weren't identified as being the target of funding for sewer installation to remove the wastewater from the watershed. So I think there's no doubt that pollutants do enter Shenorock and Lincolndale through those upstream connections. But it's not the only source of pollution to those water bodies or to the DEP watershed and reservoirs.
Thanks.
5 more questions on this set. In 2015, you reported that there have been 16 failed septic systems in Shenorock since 2000. What's happened to them?
So septic systems that are known to be in failure by the Westchester County Department of Health are required to be remediated in accordance with the county health department regulations. And to our knowledge, those failed systems, we know about them because we asked the health department where there were failed systems. So those are the ones that they know about. I want to parse my words here slightly. We've heard from several homeowners during the public comments on this sewer district about the systems that they have which according to them appear overloaded. They might have a gray water system for laundry, or they've mentioned not being able to take showers when they're doing laundry to avoid wastewater backing up into their house. And we have reports from the community about homes that appear to have connections between septic systems and the stormwater system, for example, or other failures. So those are failing, even if they're not on record with the health department as such. But even properly functioning septic systems do release nutrients and pharmaceuticals and cleaning products and other constituents to the groundwater that end up in these lakes and subsequently in the DEP reservoirs. So knowing that a septic system remediation is not a cheap or easy proposition, I think we've been judicious about trying to call people out and trying to address it holistically as a community.
Right, and Steve, I would just add, I know you had a note previously from this highway superintendent, right, who has noticed sewage in drainage systems, right? So, there's plenty of evidence of failing septics that go beyond just those that are being reported to the Westchester County Health Department.
Did I hear you correctly that even with a functioning septic that isn't failing, it still releases into the ground and eventually into water if it's close enough, things like pharmaceuticals and other chemicals, even if it's not failing in the sense of solid matter it's taken care of in the septic, but other things go through it and can get into the water. Did I hear you correctly on that?
You did. A septic system has two main components. It has, and its primary purpose is to provide a relatively affordable, low technology solution to protect usually a drinking water well on that property. And so it's designed to do two things. It's designed to settle the solids in the wastewater, which happens in the septic tank. And it's designed to provide some filtration through the soil before that wastewater hits the groundwater table for constituents of major concern for human health and in a drinking water well. So those two things, it does remove a little bit of nitrogen, and primarily it helps remove bacteria. But that's really all a septic system does. That's what a septic system does best. Is there some removal of other things? Certainly, but it's not designed to treat everything that's coming out and produce drinkable water at the end. And that's why there are requirements for septic systems about separation between septic systems and drinking water wells or stormwater pipes or other types of infrastructure is to mitigate, not eliminate, but mitigate the risk of cross-contamination between them. So a properly functioning new septic system does contribute nutrients and other things to groundwater. And it's just a question of density of how many systems like that you have in an area and how much dilution you get from the rest of the groundwater. And that's the issue here in these communities is the density of the septics.
So there's not enough dilution, you're saying scientifically.
And space.
And space.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
The next, that's it. The next question appears to be a town board question. Why are you rushing these meetings and the vote? Is it because you'll have to start from scratch?
So, I'd like to take this. We've been working on a solution for these areas as far as I can remember, back to Mary Beth Murphy. So, we've looked at a number of different alternatives that essentially led to the most recent solution that we're working on. So over the last 2 years, I think Roland was talking about some of the meetings that we're having, but we've had about 10 meetings, including this one. We've had public sessions. In addition to those, we've taken public comment. We've talked about this at various board meetings. I think the engineers, Steve, you've been taking calls with residents. Maybe you can just elaborate on that. So, and I could say, personally myself, I have friends in the community there. We're always talking about this with folks and socializing what's going on. And there are a lot of people that are interested. There may be a few that are not as interested. But I think the preponderance of people have shown support for this, at least people that I know. But, there, there will be a vote. As far as, are we rushing? I mean, we're not rushing, but there is a sense of urgency in a sense that we have a fantastic opportunity here. There are multiple municipal agencies and governments that are required to get this done. It's been like herding cats. We got access to the Peekskill Sewer District. It's going to require a vote from the Board of Legislators. They've been teed up and they're prepared to handle that. They're prepared to handle that now. This is a one-time opportunity. The $10 million. Well, we talked about, sewers. Our neighboring towns are putting in sewer districts, and they would like this money as well. If we don't use this money, this is not going to stay with us. So it's incumbent upon us to put a plan together and put a claim down and get this done. And so from that perspective, I think there's a sense of urgency to move this forward.
Yeah.
Any other comments? I mean,
No, thanks. I mean, there's a lot of words I would use to describe this, the formation of the Somers Sewer District number 2, but rushing is not one of them. I think we've done our due diligence and have stayed in communication with these two communities. And like you said, it all will come down to a vote. And each individual property owner whose name is on a deed will be able to vote yay or nay.
Okay. All right, next question. There's 3 left. What is the plan if you don't get the outside funding? We include this in the proposed plan, and if no, why not?
So the board's discussion on this has been that if additional outside funding is not secured, as much sewer will be built as the available grant funds allow. That might be DEP grant funds, and the town is talking with the Army Corps of Engineers about some additional grant funds, leveraging that $10 million from the DEP as the local match. So we're trying to make as much use of that as possible. Since the maximum expenditure, as I said before, since the maximum expenditure by the district for borrowing is limited, it doesn't make sense to borrow funds for sewer construction that doesn't leverage that borrowing into other grants as part of the local matching requirement.
so I would say as a board member, I have no intentions of voting for anything, moving anything forward beyond what this plan calls for. The $16 million of financing, we're not going to bring anything on board unless we have grant money. And so if there's not grant money, phase 1 happens and we wait, and that's it. And I would also say that although there's a limitation on the 16 million in terms of what we can borrow, if we were to get $50 million of grant money, there's no limitation on that. I mean, we can actually, get more grant money if that's, possible, if that presents ourselves with. Now, whether that's likely or not, I can't, I don't know, but, we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Follow-up question. Should the district not be formed as a result of the referendum, how would that affect pursuing other grant money if we don't have a district to apply it toward? Would it negate that possibility, or anybody have an idea about that?
I'll handle that one, Richard. For the most part, to move forward with a grant application for whether it be state grants or even federal grants, you need to have the district formed. Without the district formed, you really do not become eligible for those grants, right? Because you don't have, they're not viewing the application as serious at that point, right? Once we have the district formed, that's going to open up the possibilities for us to pursue in a very meaningful way grant opportunities. We've had very extensive conversations with the Environmental Facilities Corporation up in Albany, and that has been the main hangup, right? Is get the district formed, and then we will get you some money. So this is a really important step.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. What is the cost per household without outside funding?
So the maximum cost per house is household is limited by what's in the map plan and report. So I wouldn't advise it, but certainly the maximum cost could be up to 1187, as stated in the map plan and report, if $16 million of borrowing was incurred. But it doesn't make sense to do that. So that is the maximum cost. But I want to answer the question. So that is the maximum cost per household.
And in phase one, you mentioned before 500 some odd dollars.
Yep, just shy of
Phase one.
600. Yes, for phase one.
So this phase one, it's 500 or some odd dollars, right, for the 130 homes. For the rest of the district, it's zero, right?
That's correct. The 103 homes in phase one would be paying for their buy-in to the county sewer and the local and county O&M. There is no debt service in phase one. So those homes in phase one and the rest of the district are paying zero for debt service because there's no debt incurred. And the county has agreed that they will, even though these homes will be in the county sewer district, they are not, homes that have no possibility of connecting are not going to be assessed the county buy-in and county O&M, which was a significant concession that the town was able to get from the county. So once we get beyond phase one, if there is debt incurred, that is applied to all parcels in the district. But again, the county O&M and county buy-in are only applied to those homes that have the possibility of connecting.
Right, and
I think that
I think this question is also kind of asking, what if we don't get any money outside of the 10 million? What is the project going to cost? And we've kind of heard that before. That's just not possible. We can only borrow. The district can only borrow $16 million with, so in other words, I think what that question is saying, if we weren't able to get the additional money to get to the 65, what would it cost if we borrowed the full, 65 minus the 10? That's not possible without another public process. So it's really a frankly.
Yeah, I think asked and answered. Thanks.
Okay. So last question on this. Is there an additional agreement between the engineering firm and the town that if the engineer comes in under the quoted amount, they receive a percentage of that amount?
I'll answer that to start, and I'll let Joe, as our principal and the supervisor, weigh in on that. No, there is no such agreement, nor has there been any discussion or consideration of one. That's not how we work. Woodard & Curran is providing a professional service under a straight fee for service contract. If the project comes in for less than the amounts in the map plan report, that's a savings to the district, and we play no part in that. That would be a win for the district and for the residents, and we would aim to do that.
If we bring it in on the budget, that number could be lower.
That's the intention of the map plan and report, is to present a conservative case. Yes.
Okay, my comment on that question is 2 words: absolutely not.
Right. But that does not mean that everybody isn't going to make the greatest attempt possible to bring everything in under budget, even though there's no personal incentive to do so, nor should there be any personal incentive to do so. But obviously, we want to bring it in under budget and save people money. That's our job.
Yeah, and I don't think I need to add anything. That I think it's all been covered quite well. Thank you.
Right. All right. That is the end of those questions from Mrs. Luciano.
All right, so I'm going to pick up with, we did have a couple questions from Lisa Healy. And Roland, I'm going to kick those over to you because they're procedural.
Okay, I believe Mrs. Healy was asking about the process going forward. And what would happen with that is the following. Should you close the public hearing this evening, you have a series of resolutions in front of you which you can consider. The first of which would be the negative declaration, which would close out the environmental review. The second resolution would be the resolution making certain necessary determinations. That's one that we prepared for you. And then the next one would be a resolution preliminarily approving of the establishment of the district, subject to the approval of both the state controller and a mandatory referendum. The third resolution is a resolution authorizing an application to the state controller. The fourth resolution is authorizing a petition to the County Board of Legislators to extend the boundaries of the Peekskill Sanitary Sewer District to match those of the proposed sewer district number 2. And then the last of the resolutions is a resolution having to do with the voting procedures and establishing November 10th as the date for voting. So that would be the process going forward.
Okay, and then the question was, what is the process around the vote itself? How will it be handled? What is the timing? What is the oversight? And I believe that that was answered earlier in the evening by our town clerk.
Correct.
Okay, we did have some questions sent in to the website. Deputy Supervisor, do you have some of those to
I
address?
do. Hold on one second. If any of these were already received, I have about 8 questions from Joe Luciano. So the first one is, why is the town board recusing themselves from answering any questions on the sewer district? I think we just killed that one. We just answered 28 of them and we're answering more. So we're not recusing ourselves. What people have to understand sometimes is some of the questions
Breaking up.
we can't shoot right off the hip. I'm breaking up, I apologize. But we can't shoot right off the hip on answering some of these questions. We need to investigate it so we make sure you get the right answers. But we are answering questions.
Right, and we have professional.
Why is the town board?
All right, Tom, you froze.
Correct.
But we have professional engineers at these meetings to answer these questions, that we're not qualified to handle. So, we do answer the questions we're qualified to, and we take a stab at some of the ones we're not. But we have a town attorney and our engineers to watch over us, so to answer that question, yes, we do respond. We don't recuse ourselves.
And that goes into the second question, which is, why is the town board letting the engineering firm run the show? We're not letting them run the show, but they're the experts. None of us here on the town board are engineers. Woodard and Curran have been working with us on many projects over many years, and this is another project that they're working on. He indicates, why would the town board let the engineering firm be in control since they will be receiving the big payday? I'm not aware of a big payday at this point, but right now, as Steve just indicated, they are, they're working with us up until this referendum.
Correct.
Everything they do is subject to our approval, right?
That's right.
There's contingency money, and we hope to bring it on the plan, and they're going to be under our scrutiny. And that's just customary. I just want to say this is customary. I mean, every project in town has been run by engineers and supervised by us. And, there's examples of all that success on Route 6 and across the way from, us with the Chico build and, the installation of sidewalks and all the like. So
Why is the town board not interested in any other method of wastewater management except the $62 million sewer system?
I think,
Steve touched on that.
yes, I think we addressed that.
Okay. Yeah. Why isn't the town board considering a smaller, more affordable sewer district mapped out in the 2014 Lake Shinorak sewer study drawn up by your engineering firm? Because I think we're trying to get more into it, Shinorak and Lincolndale versus just Shinorak.
Right, and
this is why we need questions early sometimes also, because you're referring to a 2014 Lake Shinorak sewer study, a 6-year-old study that quite honestly, I would need to go refer to again. And I'm sure others would as well, but go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's keep in mind, right, let's go back to what Steve mentioned. This project has been identified for decades, right, as a very important project to sewer all of the community. You know, again, as we've said, you know, having the district formed gives us the options to go pursue the additional grant money to provide that holistic solution, not just to Shenorock, but also to Lincolndale as well. And we've also stated that we will not proceed with those additional phases unless that grant money is procured, right? So it's really a holistic solution and positioning us to solve the holistic solution as opposed to just solving a portion of the problem in one of the two communities. I think that.
But I think you want to add that you've also you've fenced in phase one to 130 homes and to implement that at the most lowest cost, at no cost to the rest of the district. But, you know, the sewer district opens up the opportunity to pursue other grants.
Okay, I think we answered this one also, but what is the town board's process for financing over 16 million that will become the residents' financial responsibility, since it is a possibility that it can happen? That doesn't read right, but I think he's asking over 60 million, which we responded to. If it goes over that, we would need to open it up to the public again. It would be a whole nother process.
Have no plans to do that.
Right. But even if there were, or if it happened, it would be a whole new process. Why wasn't there a committee formed for Shenorock or Lincolndale to oversee the sewer district proposal to ensure the best overall sewer proposal was done for the residents?
I think Ken Colbrenner and Steve Robbins have been to many community meetings in both Lincolndale and Shenorock with interested community residents about the formation of the sewer district. So that's incorrect. They're having committees in both communities.
Has anyone, whether a representative of Lincoln Hall or a developer, approached any town representative about developing Lincoln Hall's property, since you are looking to bring the sewer to their doorstep? They have not approached me. They already have a system up there, don't they?
Yeah, they have an on-site sewer system. They're self-sufficient.
They've had their own sewer system for years.
They don't need it.
Right. And this doesn't really make sense. What will Lincoln Hall be contributing to the cost of the project if they tie into it, since it totally changes the development abilities of their property? We just answered the first question, so our second question is mute. All right. So those were Joe Luciano's. I have a few more. Let me go through them quick. From Stephanie McQuaid, will the formation of the sewer district improve the health of trees in our communities? I'm hoping for fewer power outages due to downed trees. We're hoping for fewer power outages due to anything, but I have no idea to that question. That's
Not related,
yeah.
but understood.
From the last meeting, it became clear that most people against the formation of the district own multiple homes. I'm not sure that's accurate. They mentioned, this is also from Stephanie McQuaid, they mentioned allowing tenants to, are sewer bills a tax write-off like some are for landlords? I have no idea. Stephanie,
I mean, that's a tax question, but under
Yeah.
the newer tax laws, I mean, you don't get as many deductions as you do in the past. That may change, but
all right, you answered Lisa's questions. George Lux had a few questions. In your map plan, it states no fees until construction is in front of your residence. It does not state fees will be incurred when homes are hooked up. Will this be stated on the referendum when presented for a vote? Will fees be incurred upon hookup or construction as the map plan states?
So I can take that one, Councilman Garrity. The map plan report states that fees are incurred when construction begins on a phase that will bring sewer to the parcel. That is based on the county's requirement. They were willing to waive assessing their O&M and buy-in costs to all parcels, regardless of ability to connect. But they made that subject to those fees would apply when construction begins that would bring sewer to that home. So for phase one, when phase one construction begins, those homeowners would be responsible for those county fees, those homeowners in phase one, and the rest of the parcels would not be subject to those fees. If additional funding comes into the district, and let's say we connect another 100 homes, then when the construction begins to the connection of those 100 homes, that's when the county's fees would apply. So the wording in the map plan report is correct. It's not at the time of hookup that the county applies their fees. It's at the time of construction that would bring sewer to that home.
But
All right,
that's the
Steve,
count.
how long is it? So once the construction begins, that's literally when the first shovel is in the ground? Is that what it is?
That is the phrasing of the county. I'm not sure that they're going to count it to the day or not, but each phase of construction would be on the order of several months, not several years. So it's essentially when sewer is imminent.
So yeah, that's my question. From the time, however they measure when the phase begins, about how long will it be till a homeowner gets the benefit of that?
It would be on the order of months, not
Couple of
years
months.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think that's important.
and I don't recall what the town sewer law says about town O&M fees, if that's at the time of construction or the time of connection. I believe the town sewer law might be time of connection, but
I
I'd have
believe
to go
so.
back and review that. I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
believe
Roland, go
that's
ahead.
correct, Steve.
Okay.
Time of connection.
So one is the soon as phase begins, the other is when you are connected. Okay.
And the it's complicated. This is there's a lot of moving parts here. The only piece of that is different is debt service is applied to all homes in the district when incurred, regardless of connection status. Correct, Roland?
Correct.
So once the debt, so the public understands, phase one starts with, let's say, $550 or so, right? No
Yes.
financing. You
Correct.
start phase two, and then there's a bit of financing. So let's say that adds another $100 per household. Well, the 550 goes to 650. Everybody else in the entire district gets charged 100, right?
That's correct.
All right, so that's the way it happens.
All right, am I up again?
You're up.
We got everybody trying to explain the same questions. What is the criteria going to be determining eligibility for financial relief? For example, the median income in Westchester County, question mark. I don't know if we have that determined yet, do we?
So, I guess we mentioned this last meeting, wanting to be upfront with the public that the town is trying to find ways to reduce the cost of this project to homeowners. And the county legislators are considering allocating some funding from the East of Hudson funds for a number of things, including sewer connections. And we are working with them to try to find a way to make sure that this project is eligible for those funds. That's a very preliminary discussion, and that would be based on median household income. Is what they are currently considering. That's a conceptual discussion at this point. It's conjecture. It's not approved or even proposed. It hasn't been voted on. And so there right now is no program for financial relief based on median household income or any other metric, but the town is trying to push forward with opportunities for that where we can.
It's under discussion, and we're hopeful that the county will come up with this program. And if they do, we're going to make sure we're right in there with our Lake Shannerock and Lincolndale project.
But there's no guarantee.
These next few questions are kind of long, so I'll get through it, and if we need to get back to George on his own, we can do so. A couple of pieces. So number 3 is the town engineer mentions hooking up to the pipe coming from the residents. Would it incur well, you guys are the same. Woodard and Curran mentions the septic tank. Which one are the sewers being hooked up to?
So I'll answer that piece. It will vary. It's going to be somewhere between the house and the septic tank typically. Is it right next to the septic tank? Is it 5 feet off the house? That's going to vary parcel by parcel.
Okay. If the tank is being left and sewers are being hooked up to the outlet currently running into the fields, how are residents without generators going to know when to call the town for emergency?
So for those homes that would require a pump, and I think we want to minimize that number.
And he does mention that, Steve. He does mention how would one know the tank is full and requires the town to bring a generator for residents with grinder pumps. So,
Sure. Sure. So those parcels with grinder pumps, they have a control panel that has a battery backup for a high level alarm. So the resident would know at that point when that system has that level has been reached. The control panels do have a pigtail connection to allow a generator to be hooked up. So if the homeowner has a generator, they can pump out their system. And we have talked with Adam Smith as the water and sewer superintendent about being able to provide some assistance to homeowners during extended outages as well.
How many grinder pumps are there?
I will look that up and answer that because I don't know that number off the top of my head.
But the
Councilman.
thought is that a generator can go to one, kind of resolve an issue, then go to another one, right? And resolve an issue. And
certainly
circulated.
many homeowners have their own standby generators and don't need to be limited by outside assistance in that case.
So the emergency assistance can be worked out.
okay. While language is rather vague, referring to minimizing property damage, I have a few questions. If a homeowner wants the sewer run in a particular way to minimize removing old shrubs, lawn damage, or other lands or other hardscaping, and the town wants to run the pipe in another way, who has final say if both options are viable?
So ultimately I'm sorry, I want to talk over someone else.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Ultimately, the homeowner needs to grant an easement. So if the homeowner's not happy, they can always choose not to connect. That said, as a gardener myself, I understand the value of those old plantings and the time and investment that have gone into them. And I think that upfront, our process is to meet with homeowners to review their lot to find the most suitable path, so we don't get into a position of I want A and you want B. That's not the way that we would work and not the way that we would do it.
So Steve, in that same note, I guess what he's also asking is if in doing this, you have to remove plants and bushes or you have to go through a driveway, I guess, is the town going to replace the plants and bushes, and are they going to pave the driveway or patch the driveway? Because he's saying patching obviously over time can belly out and things of that nature.
A patch is a patch. So each parcel is going to be different, and that's why the engineer would need to work with the property owner to find the most suitable solution to minimize those impacts. Obviously, it's not possible to replace a 50-year-old hydrangea bush. You just can't. But it's an opportunity to replace in kind with a younger of the same species, or to change something if the homeowner wishes. A lot of driveways in these communities are short and narrow. And so with the disturbance that is inevitable with this project, I think it would be tough to trench and patch many of these driveways because they're not much wider than a car and not much wider than the trench would be. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to have a 6-inch patch in a 8-foot wide driveway. But that's a case by case basis, and we'd be trying to minimize the impacts on the residents because there will be impacts.
Okay, thank you.
As the town has stated, once the 62 million is finished or depleted, it needs to go to the state controller's office for more funding. If the project is almost complete, what's the odds the state controller would turn down the extra money? Do the residents need to vote against on the extra money? What is the process should the project run out of funds before completing the sewers, as has happened in other sewer districts? Well, I mean, I'll just add, the first part is we can't say what the state controller will do. I mean, that's a.
But before it goes to the state comptroller, there would have to be supplemental proceedings at the town level. You basically would be doing what you're doing now all over again to see if the public wanted to authorize additional money.
Okay.
So it cannot happen without the public participation.
And we would stop, I mean, if we ran out of the money and they said no, we would stop wherever we were.
That's what you would have to do, yes.
Right, and I think we have to realize this is not a 2 or 3 year project to get all of Lincolndale and Shannon Rock sewered. This is going to be a multi-year endeavor as we apply for grants and as the project moves forward. But I think what we want to do at this point is get infrastructure into these 2 lake communities sized to serve all of the community. So this is the first step, is to establish this sewer district so we qualify for funding. All right, Tom, next question.
3 more, and then I got a couple of texts. The town board and Supervisor Morrissey have stated in numerous meetings, the money can only be used for sewers. In one of the last meetings held in the townhouse, Supervisor Morrissey stated, no one has ever said that. I watched the last meeting in Reese Park, and this apparently has changed. Can you provide the documentation stating it can only be used for sewers?
All right, well, I think Steve did address that by saying, hold on a sec.
That's somebody calling in with a question.
Yeah, I'm taking questions at home now. Yeah, the DEP wants to protect its water supply. And in Somer's case, we chose to go with sewers. So that's basically the answer to that question. Can the money from the DEP be used for other than sewers? We were contemplating a septic repair program at one point that these funds could have been used for. But what's at hand, what's being presented is the formation of a Somer Sewer District number 2.
Okay. Now, these next 2 are long ones also. George is a writer. When the sewers were first proposed, the town board acknowledged they could have done a better job of informing residents of the proposed sewer district, as many residents were unaware. In my opinion, it seemed to have been an honest omission, and I assume the same mistake would not be made. In the last meeting held in Reese Park and tonight's Zoom meeting, in my opinion, appear to be the same mistake made again, which is rather distressing to me. Letters should have been sent to all residents in the proposed sewer district advising them of the 2 meetings. A legal notice should or could have also been placed in the Somer's record. When a proposed building which requires zoning board approval is scheduled, signs are placed letting residents know of the meeting. No such thing was done with the sewers. This was brought up in the very beginning of the meeting, and Mr. Clinch acknowledged the town board could have done a better job. Unfortunately, the same mistakes have occurred again. Apparently, we have not learned, as in the past, communication could have been better. I think we answered that a bit too, that we try to send it to the Somer's record. We can't always say what they're going to put out. You know, we try to put it on websites. We try and put it on social media. You know, the fact is we've had numerous meetings and public sessions about this. That's what I would say, but I don't know if anybody else has anything to add.
Statement, then a question, I guess. Okay, you want to wrap it up?
Yes, while the town board.
Did we not, on that question,
They're not
right there,
changing the
Tom?
zoning. It is important to note within the current
Tom?
building code. Am I breaking up?
No, I just want to ask, did we not use code red to some of these neighborhoods to alert them of some of this over the course of time?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
We
All right,
sent
so we
two-
made phone calls, texts, or however the person chose to receive those. Those people who signed up for code red would have gotten those communications at least. I
Right,
just want to make sure I got that right.
This last
do.
This last one is also more of a statement. While the town board has publicly stated many times they are not changing the zoning, it is important to note within the current building codes, our semi-rural hamlet of Lincolndale will begin to look like other lake communities, house upon house. Small quarter-acre lots currently wooded will undoubtedly be built upon. Small houses will now be able to increase bedroom counts. Future development will now lead to more impervious groundwater, leaching out fertilizer and other runoff into Lake Lincolndale. As a lifelong resident of Somers, I walk the lake quite frequently. Runoff from curtain drains, dry wells, and wet properties is evident when walking the roads. When will stormwater, in my opinion, the lion's share of algae blooms be remedied? All right. I do not believe one has to be water quality expert to see where the algae bloom starts. It is an early spring and starts where the green water coming from excess nutrients leaching out from pipes draining onto public roads. I would like my questions, concerns, and comments read in entirety. Thank you, George Lux, Juniper Drive. George, I hope I read it to your satisfaction. I think I said everything. Obviously, if we didn't answer something, let us know, and we can get you further information.
Okay.
All right.
All right, there are some other ones that came in. I don't know if they're showing up there, Tom, on, but I have another one from Stephanie McQuaid.
I read, those were two that I read.
I think, well, I understand that the 10 million DEP settlement money is a nice start.
Yeah, I was getting to that. That came in Wednesday.
Oh, you were getting to it. I'm sorry.
All right, yeah. While I understand that the 10 million DEP settlement money is a nice start, many residents are concerned about the financial impact of a $100 a month increase in taxes. Can you better explain the East of Hudson aid that is available? Additionally, can you explain additional grants that you're pursuing, such as the Army Corps of Engineers grant that was mentioned in the last meeting?
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So I can start to address that. The other sources of funding that are being looked at include the Army Corps of Engineers Water Resources Development Act grant funding that we talked about last time. Since our last meeting, the Army Corps of Engineers has sent to the town an updated draft agreement for that. They have the support of the DEC for that grant money. And as I said before, that leverages the $10 million from DEP as part of the local grant. So we're hopeful that that can be used to further expand the construction in phase one. Other sources of funding include WIA, which is Water Infrastructure Improvement Act funding, and other grant programs that come out at the state and federal levels. And pardon me while I look aside and flip to my list here. Hang on one moment.
And while you're doing that, Steve, I'll just add that the WIA fund that Steve mentioned, this project is eligible under that because that program has projects that are over $50 million are eligible for $12.5 million. So that's the target that we've set on the WIA program. There's also through the consolidated funding application at the state level, which allows application to multiple funding programs. We're looking at the water quality improvement program portion of that. That would be another a grant avenue that we pursue. But one of the other things that's important to mention is, you know, our experience last time and through the last recession, and then there was a large, if everybody remembers the term, shovel-ready stimulus bill. We're anticipating, based on our experience, that we're going to see such a bill come out, and hopefully that will open up additional funding avenues through the federal government. And the nice thing about those shovel-ready projects is they very rarely require a match. So, you know, it would be interesting to see how that evolves at the federal level, but we're looking at it at all levels. I would also say that Rick and I met with the county county executive and along with other municipalities and put together a list of needs for the county executive to use in his discussions with the DEP. Once the existing funds are spent down, there'll also be other monies pursued from the city. So we're looking at it at all levels: city level, state level, and prepping for federal level.
Right.
Thank you for filling in my notes there, Joe.
Okay.
All right, I got a few more, Rick.
Okay.
Keep going.
I'll keep them rolling.
Keep going.
This one is from Susan Lawrence, who I know spoke to Rich out in the parking lot after the last meeting about it. It's more of a statement than a question. I I want to know if a phone call went out to the New York City DEP and Westchester DEP in regards to information on the status of IA/OWTS. Are they permissible in watershed areas? Can we argue that they are, I think she means agree. Can we agree that they are safer than sewers, a 21st century green technology, reliable, less intrusive, and will save our community taxpayers $40 million plus added costs down the line? Has anyone read the brochures on advanced septics handed to the board from last public meeting? Did you call the number to inquire? What is the status of the environmental review? It's important that it's shared with the town before a vote for sewers can happen. I understand that we don't need to have a sewer district in order to receive the money designated toward clean watershed. I understand that this money is being saved for Somers when we decide how to use it. I understand that it's not up for grabs in the near future by any town other than Somers. Do you object to that? Please quote your source of information if you disagree so that it can be checked and verified. Remember that an informed voter is as important as voting itself. Why aren't you engaging in a roundtable with the opponents of your sewer districts? That's what this is. We are the owners of the properties you plan to change. This is highly undemocratic behavior that can be contested in court. Stop pushing your agenda, start to listen to your constituents, and let's find some common ground. Okay. I don't know if anybody wants to answer any of the questions that we're
I
answering.
think there were a bunch of questions in there. The one about the ETUs, the enhanced treatment units, is something that I'll start, and Steve, you can kind of fill in the gaps. And, you know, I think in the public hearing, I don't know if it came out as clearly as, when I reviewed it, that I would have liked. But these units are used. They are used for septics, treatment for failing septics. They have been used in certain circumstances in Westchester County. But those certain circumstances are usually providing that the system has to be failing, number one. Number two, it can only be used in the event there is no room for a conventional system to be used, right? So just to state that those systems can only be installed after an extensive design and review process with the DEP after the failure has already happened, right? So just think about, and it's not like we can go through and say, we're just going to put ETUs on everybody's house throughout Shenorock and Lincolndale as the solution to the sewers, because that just would, in my view, would not be permissible through the Westchester County Health Department.
Well, that's exactly right. I reiterated that with Delroy Taylor, who's the Assistant Commissioner of Bureau of Environmental Quality, and ETUs are not the go-to wastewater system. It's septic systems are. Where septic systems cannot be repaired, that is when these ETUs are very effective, but they're not, when given the option of sewer versus ETUs, the county health department will approve, the septic system and not the use of ETUs. Okay, so have we?
Wait, I think was there another question in there, Tom? I think there was another question embedded.
Yeah,
in there.
I think there's a few. So you checked into the IAOWTS, and she had some questions about that, but I think your answer does it. What's the status of the environmental review?
Well, that's, Steve, you could speak towards the CEQA process.
Yep. So the town board has declared itself the lead agency and has prepared an environmental assessment form, and I believe has that before it tonight.
That's correct.
Sorry about that. And then it was about, we don't need a sewer. I don't see any other question marks.
Okay.
I think we're good. Somebody says, Laura Arati Perzikovich said, thank you for working so hard on this project. I am all for the sewer projects. This will help our entire community. It will increase our property value and benefit all homeowners. Please do not allow the loud voices of the few outweigh the community need. Those that oppose are landlords or they are moving out of the community. That is unfair to have their voices speak for all. We need the sewers in our community. And I'm going to read one more, and it goes back to the 4th. And here's an interesting one, which we already answered, but it's Andrea Kleckman. I'm against sewer, don't have any additional funds to pay. How would I opt out? I believe people in other towns have opted out. My understanding is that you can't opt out if you're in the district.
All right, I have one more.
I just was looking for just somebody.
Yes, that's my understanding. I mean, Roland should comment, but that's my understanding as well.
That's my understanding as well.
You don't have to connect, but you're not out of the district if you choose to not connect, right?
And Rick,
Correct.
Yeah.
But there's no benefit of not connecting, right?
There's no benefit of not connecting, but you have that choice,
You have to absorb the O&M and the buy-in costs.
right?
Hey, Rick, just so you know, people are saying how, what about the Somers record and all that? Again, we don't have any say over when the Somers record puts something out. But they did have a big article, virtual hearing for sewer district on September 10th. So there's a whole article in today's Somers record. Again, we can't indicate when the Somers record is going to send it out, but it was in there. I usually get the paper today. I don't know when others get it. So again, there was information on it in the Somers record.
Okay. And Tom, I have one other one that came in this morning from Jean Ralph. And she says, can you explain how the sewer might get clogged?
Oh, yeah, I see that one.
It affect our homes. If one of my neighbors has a dog, could my
A clog.
clogs? Yes, clog my pipes, would it back up to my house? Can you explain in more detail the problems that occur during a power outage? Generac has town water, so we can flush our toilets. We have water. However, how is that going to affect our water usage during an outage? No showers, no flushing. How do we know how much water we can use before it gets backed up into our home? So
Sure.
Isn't there some capacity that we have in the system?
Well, let me, I guess I'll work from last to first on that. So the county health department requires that we have 24 hours of water storage. And what that means is the design flow of the system, which is based on the maximum day usage, based on the number of bedrooms in the home. There's a by the book value that is used for what that design flow is. That is required to be that amount of volume is required as a minimum for emergency storage in the system. And as I said before, those systems that don't drain by gravity, that have pumps, the control panel does have a battery backup alarm. So you have an early warning. It actually is set a bit below the actual high water level. So when you need to get that pumped out. What we find is that amount of water storage is, while we call it 24 hours of storage, actually lasts for much longer, because a lot of the high intensity water usage activities, people aren't doing them in a power outage. I know when I lost power in the past storm, our showers got a whole lot quicker because it's cold water and not hot water because the water heater doesn't work. Similarly, you're not doing a load of laundry in a washing machine. So water usage does go down during a power outage, which helps extend the duration that emergency storage lasts. There's a question about sewer backups and how that occurs. Based on the sewer systems that we see, either in consulting with municipalities or operating them as a company, most sewer backup issues happen because people are putting improper materials in the sewer. If people are putting a lot of fats and oils and grease down the sewer, that can clog the system. Or if they're flushing rags or some of the supposedly flushable wipes, which do flush, but they rag up a sewer, those cause the majority of the backups that we see in systems. Typically, that backup is going to happen on that individual person's lateral, because that's the smallest diameter pipe. The pipe that leaves the home and the parcel is usually a 4-inch pipe. And the minimum size for a pipe in the street is 8 inches. So Usually it's the homeowner sees the issue before it hits the sewer itself, and causes any disruption to anyone else.
Thank you.
Rick, I have a couple of texts.
Okay.
I'm the lucky one, I guess. Rick, I think I'm beating your 28. Since there was a mailing in August for solar energy, how come the August 20th meeting wasn't addressed, but we got money to mail out the letter for solar? We didn't pay for the solar. That came from the Beck Solar
Westchester,
program.
right.
Yeah. We didn't pay for
Sustainable
that.
Westchester.
Yep, we didn't pay for that.
We just put our logo, my signature on a letter that I sent back to them, and they handled the whole mailing. So that was zero cost to the town.
All right. When is the public going to have, and this is from a telephone number, a text, so I'm not sure who it is. When is the public going to have a real meeting about the cost and what we are going to pay at the end, and who has other interests we don't hear about? I don't know what the other interests are, but we've indicated the cost in the map plan review. We mentioned it a little bit here, so the information is all out there.
And it's on the web. Well,
yep. And who has other interests we don't hear about? I'm not even sure what that refers to.
There aren't any.
Right, there aren't any. Isn't there a minimum requested amount to provide flow to peak skill? And can the first phase alone satisfy that? What happens if nothing else moves forward to phase one?
I mean, I would just say there is no minimum. I mean, there's not a minimum. It's not, we actually get capacity for a maximum, actually.
That's what I thought.
Back end, and we're designing our systems in a way that when we install phase one, the system will be designed to convey phase one. And then as additional phases come on, like as Rick said, the base infrastructure will be put in, but we might have to upsize a pump, for example, in some of the pump stations when the flow increases. But as it relates to Westchester County, the big hurdle for us is to get in the district so that all the residents have the opportunity to get their flow there when we get the grant money to be able to move the project forward.
So have they reserved that capacity?
Yes.
That's the question. So it's reserved for us.
It's reserved.
well, it will be if we get this through.
And that has to go through, and that has to go through legislative vote, right? Board of Education, right?
Yeah, we have to be allowed.
Last one is, you paid a PR firm. Why didn't they send out mailers? We haven't been dealing with the PR firm for months now. That was early on in the process. So they're no longer involved.
Correct.
And again, on page 23, the continuation of the public hearing, it actually gives all the numbers you can call in and how to get in on the call in today's Somers record. So again, we can't tell them to move their press date up by a day, but it all went, it is in the Somers record.
Okay. And thanks for that, Tom. It's very current information. Okay, so we have now concluded the write-ins and emails and texts. I'm going to go to Paul. Do you have any call-ins?
Yes, I have 6 people in the waiting room. I will let in the first person that called in. Okay, welcome to the meeting. Please identify yourself with your name and your address, please. Resident with a 914 exchange that I just let in the meeting, please identify yourself with your name and your address, please.
All right, Paul, can you hold that call and go to the next?
Yep, sure. Hang on, please. Okay, welcome to the meeting. Please identify yourself and your name and your address, please.
Hi, my name is Robin Anderson. 9 Cypress Lane.
Hey, Robin, can you please do me a favor?
I'm sorry, I gotta turn the volume down.
The radio station.
Okay, so many of these issues have been addressed, and I apologize for any redundancies.
Yeah,
I've been a
continue.
resident of Center Rock for over 20 years. My husband and I plan on retiring here. Sorry, I'm moving out of the room so I hear my feedback there. We live just up the road from Lake Shenorock and have spent many hours walking the dogs there, watching my daughter play on the old swing sets, and enjoying the view. Over the years, I've watched the water get shallower. The algae blooms cover the entire lake for most of the summer. And science tells us this is due in large part to too many septic systems in too small an area. Some of our neighbors are insistent that the problem with the lake are storm runoff from salt on the roads. I keep hearing a teaspoon of salt permanently contaminates 5 gallons of water. This is true. It can increase chloride levels, leading to saltier lakes. That's not our problem in Shenorock or Lincolndale. Road salt is composed of sodium chloride. Testing done in Lake Lincolndale and Lake Shenorock show acceptable chloride levels. Phosphorus and coliform bacteria, neither of which come from road salt, are a problem. The road salt is a separate problem and not really related to what we're experiencing here. The town of Somers retained Woodard and Curran to perform a wastewater study for the lake community in 2015 with the goal of identifying options to improve water quality. Phosphorus and coliform bacteria were identified as the 2 primary water quality concerns. There are several pathways by which these enter the lakes, and they're explained in the study. I'm not going to pretend to understand how much of that works, but I can tell you that stormwater runoff from impervious surfaces and landscaped areas adjacent to Lake Shenorock flow directly and through the municipal drainage system to the lake. The most prominent sources of surface runoff phosphorus loading from residential areas are lawn fertilizers and malfunctioning septic fields. None of that is caused by road salt. Additionally, some areas in Shenorock were identified as possibly receiving drainage flow from illicit sewer connections and or ineffective septic fields. Hopefully, all of us have stopped using chemical fertilizers on our lawns, but sometimes when I walk through the neighborhood, I suspect that's not the case. I also hope that everyone has their septic pumped out every 3 to 5 years, but I know that that's not happening. The majority of the homes surrounding Lake Shenorock were constructed during the early 1900s. Septic absorption fields serving these lots were constructed prior to the development of modern wastewater design standards and were often not designed considering only seasonal occupancy of the residencies. The majority of the residents in Lake Shenorock are now occupied year-round and feature septic systems that are undersized based upon current design requirements for new construction. My septic tank and fields were replaced in the 1950s. I never had a problem with my septic. Everything seemed fine. Last year, I called to have my septic tank pumped. It had last been pumped in 2014. The metal tank I had was rotting and had to be replaced immediately, as did all my septic fields. Over $8,000 later, payable upfront in cash, I have a brand new septic system on my 0.4 acre lot, which is large for Shenorock, but it's probably still polluting the lake. I have a small house. There's easy access to my backyard for the septic replacement. So most people that have to replace their systems are going to pay a lot more than I did. Existing residential septic fields, whether malfunctioning or operating as intended, like mine is now, have the ability to contribute phosphorus and bacterial loads to our lakes. Updates were made to our surface runoff system in Lake Shenorock for the stormwater drainage. But when I drive down the road and look at the lake, it's still quite green. So there's obviously much more that needs to be done. In addition to having 40 to 50 times the number of recommended septic systems per square acre, Shenorock and Lake Lincolndale have poor soil, shallow depths to bedrock and groundwater, which makes even a new septic system like mine less than ideal. Even though I just shelled out a lot of money for my septic, I am willing to pay to put in sewers because that is the best thing to do for our community, for our lakes, and for our water supply. In addition, pharmaceuticals, nitrogen, and household chemicals are not removed by septics, no matter how well it's working. Those substances get right back into our water supply, and frankly, I take enough medication myself. I really don't want to be taking yours too. They talked about the advanced septic system technologies, which clearly are not an option for this area. There was also a lot of talk about errors in the plans that has since been corrected. And so I'd really like to take a vote as soon as possible on the current plan. I hope everyone does their own research and gets the facts. There's no arguing that our septics are killing our lakes and will eventually destroy our water supply. We need the sewers so our children and grandchildren can raise their families in Somers just like we did. Thank you to the board for everything you have done.
Okay, we thank you. Paul, next call.
Okay, Isabel, welcome to the meeting. Please identify yourself for the record and your address as well, please. Yeah, I guess we're getting some feedback. I'll let the next person in. Hello, welcome to the meeting. Please identify yourself with your name and your address. All right, we'll move on.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you please lower your TV in the background?
Hello?
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Please identify yourself with your name and your address and your question.
Sure. Linda Luciano, 10 Walker Drive. First off, I want to thank you for letting us speak. Some of the questions that you guys went over earlier were really not properly answered. You kind of skirted around them, but we can always address those at another meeting. I also would like people to know that this project is going to take 10 to 20 years to complete. This is not something where you're going to have it come in, boom, we're going to have this in like 2-3 years. So people need to understand that. You also mentioned, Supervisor Morrissey, that there are committees in both of our communities. And we don't know any committees that we have here in Lake Shenorock or Lake Lincolndale. So that's very confusing for us because you say you've been working on this for 2 years, but we didn't even know this till last August. Also, as far as other districts, sewer districts, they said that it's not optional, and that is not true. And a perfect example of that is the Halleck's Mill Sewer District right here in Yorktown. They made it optional for residents. So again, we're being given misinformation. The meetings, they were not running on Channel 20 like they normally do. People called me up, told me they are not running. So they're supposed to be running, I think, 3 or 4 times a day. They were not. They are not. You did not put anything in the paper last week about tonight's meeting. We just got the paper today, and that's not 72 hours prior to the meeting. A lot of people don't go to your website, especially during a pandemic, who thought this was even going to happen. And people don't get the code red messages. And even when they do sign up, they're still not getting them. So you're relying on that system, but you're not getting the word out to us. The last public hearing, you guys sat there. We wanted dialogue. You didn't give us dialogue. We basically were waiting to the end of the meeting for the engineer to answer all our questions. That's not dialogue. I thought public hearings were when you can come up and you can ask questions. And, we elected you guys. We didn't elect this engineer. We want the answers from you. As far as we're concerned, these two public hearings are not valid meetings because of the fact that we were not notified properly and you're not having dialogue with us. Earlier tonight, you mentioned about how there's been how many meetings. Okay, so I've been involved since September 12th. And I know that there was one at the school, and there was one at the Lake Lincolndale Clubhouse. Those were 2 informational meetings, and you had 2 public hearings. So the fact that you're saying there have been 10 meetings, not since I'm involved. We got the first map plan and report changed. We did, because none of you, including the engineer, knew of the mistakes in that plan. And we're going to pay him approximately $9 million for this project. No wonder he is pushing it. The engineer said at the last meeting, the district is committed to paying for residents to get their lawns back to normal. Once again, he uses district, which people are confused when they hear that, like it's the town paying. It is the residents in the sewer district paying. We all have to pay for everything. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation over the last year, and I can't call you out on all of it, but here's 4 important things people need to know. You told people no new property taxes. That's not true. The sewer tax will be on our property tax bill. $10 million can be used for other alternatives, and there is no deadline with the money. Last year, you tried to make it look urgent, and the money is still there today. You've had access to this money for 21 years, so stop with the urgency. Innovative advanced septic systems are being used in Westchester. There are 8 things residents will be responsible for, not 3, like your poster board said at the only informational meeting you had. It's up on somersewers.com so people can see it. There's also information on grinder pumps.
Yes.
After the storm 3 weeks ago, Peach Lake, who has sewers, had sewage backups in their basements because the grinder pumps were not running. They had to have a truck go to pump everyone's tanks. This is what people want? I also found out that you should not be using a generator under 6,500 watts to run your grinder pumps because lower amperage won't handle it. People need to know this. The revised plan that we pushed for, not the town board, now states we are not paying for county buy-in and county O&M fees until the time of construction. It does not say until time of hookup. Again, more underhanded trickery with the verbiage. Will this be changed to be very explicit that these fees will not be incurred until the resident's home is hooked up to the sewer lateral? Local O&M, we start paying as soon as the district is started, and that number can and will go up. As soon as they borrow $1, even if it's for phase 1, we all start to pay financing. They lumped us all together for a reason. If phase 2 never happens, phase 2 residents still have to pay for phase 1 to have their sewer. You are stuck paying forever, and may never get sewer. It happens right here in this county all the time. During a pandemic, you have chosen to try and push the sewers through. School started this week, and you have kids riding buses and bumping into each other in the halls, but you can't have an essential meeting at Reese Park because of 10 new COVID cases. How many COVID cases did you have back on June 5th when you had the Black Lives Matter protest? You had 28 active cases, and you did not stop that protest. We need to get out and vote no on this. Don't just sit at home and say whatever happens, happens. We need to come together and vote no and let them come back with an alternative so that we all get to benefit from the 10 million, not just 103 residents.
Okay, thank you.
Who is going to clean up the Shenorock Lake and 9 acres after all this? The town board? 3 of you already tried making Shenorock residents pay for this 11 years ago for millions. This is all on somersewers.com.
Linda?
There are a total of 326 undeveloped lots within both communities.
All right.
So we're going to conclude your comments and move to the next person. Thank you for your comment. Paul, next caller.
Yep. All right. Next caller, please identify yourself with your name and your address and your question, please. Resident that's phoning in with the 914 exchange, please identify yourself, your name, your address, and please state your question.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
Please give us your name and your address and state your question.
Hi, my name is Janet Best. I live in Lake Lincolndale, and I am, of course, opposed to the new sewer system. I've been a resident here for nearly 30 years. I don't understand how we are claiming that this lake is a sick lake or has pollution in it. When you walk around this lake and you see the eagles and the great blue herons and the beautiful wildlife that we have here. You know, people swim in this lake, they kayak and paddleboard all summer long, even into the fall, and it's spectacular. And my concern is that we are going to lose this beautiful gem that we've treasured and preserved for all these years and protected it from becoming acidified. And I just think that this is a viable, thriving, living lake, and it supports this wildlife that we enjoy every day. If the sewer system comes into our neighborhood, ecological balance of the lake will be forever changed and damaged from years of disruption, noise pollution, and construction runoff. We're educated people here in this neighborhood. I don't understand why we're being forced into this corner without considering the alternative, less invasive and efficient way to upgrade these septic systems. I'm just letting you know that I will let everyone else know I'm voting no on the Somers sewer system. Nothing else that will protect our future and our property values rather than having a dead lake full of debris from construction. I do appreciate your time and letting me speak. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment. Well, next caller.
Hi, this is Luana Cotman for 22 Tulip Road, Lake Lincolndale.
Yes, go ahead.
I have several people who want to talk after me. So, would it be okay if you don't hang up the phone and let the next person speak?
Yes, we're allotting you in the 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay.
5 to speak, but I would just caution
Okay.
that you practice some social distancing and sanitizing the phone if you're going to be passing it around.
Yes, we are.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. A petition is being circulated for everyone who does not want to be included in the sewer district. Please go to somersewers.com to print off or call 914-215-5490 to get one. On page 4 to 5 in your map plan and report, it states no local district financing in excess of $16 million shall occur without supplemental proceedings affording district taxpayers full participation. You do not want our full participation now, so how will that work later on? Who is getting sewer with $16 million for phase 2? Where is that in your map plan report? There are a lot of things left out. The information on alternatives and 21st century solutions like the RetroFast wastewater treatment system that is approved to be used here in Westchester is on our website, somersewers.com. We have brochures on 3 different systems if anyone would like one. It provides a cost-effective and environmentally sound alternative to sewers. If you are in need of repairing your septic, this is an option. They aren't telling you all this. You can find the link on somersewers.com to a company right here that installs them in Westchester and throughout the county. It can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, depending on the size of the unit you may want or need. Oddly enough, one of the systems he sells was installed recently right here in Shenorock on Lakeview Drive. Bedford, New York has these systems, and it is written right in their town code 100-2 that these systems should be used going forward for new buildings. There is a picture of one of these systems that just got installed in Bedford on our website. On the controller's website, it states a question and answer which people need to hear. A town has established a district and constructed improvements in accordance with the district map plan and report. The town leader needs to make additional improvements or repairs. Does the town need the controller's approval before undertaking the additional improvements or repairs? Generally, no, even where debt will be issued, Town Law 202-B. Town law provides for increases and improvements of district facilities upon notice and after a public hearing. A town board on behalf of a sewer district may 1. Acquire or construct additional facilities, 2. Improve or reconstruct existing facilities, 3. Replace damaged, destroyed equipment, 4. Acquire additional equipment without seeking comptroller approval. It shows you that they can do whatever they want after the district is formed, and our costs can go up very easily. You told us that you were going to have informational meetings. On October 16, 2019, you announced that you were hiring a PR firm for $13,750. You said the PR firm was hired to assist in the town in reaching out to the community, including mailings and community mailings. Where are the mailers about these meetings and the community meetings? This project is about opening up lots for builders and bringing in sewers for more development, possibly Lincoln Hall. It's all about politics, and we don't trust any of you. I'm going to pass to the next caller.
Rick, can I respond to the 202B reference?
Sure, go ahead.
That only applies in instances where a maximum for local financing has not been set forth in the map plan and report. Here we have set a maximum, and to go beyond that maximum would mean we'd have to go through supplementary proceedings, which would include permission of the state comptroller.
Okay, thank you, Rowan. Okay, next caller.
Valerie Carroll, 7 Hickory Road, Lake Lincolndale. We have no idea the cost of this project, gentlemen. What project comes out on budget? Repairing your septic is cheaper than paying for an entire sewer district forever. If you maintain it and you do the right thing, you should never have an issue. They're banking on the elderly residents moving out and the younger generation to move in and put additions on so their taxes can go up. Mr. Clinchey said on October 3rd, 2019, the little old lady won't be living here forever. Your home values will not miraculously go up after sewers go in. Taxes in Shinnerock are already high enough. Shinnerock pays for water and lighting. Now add on the sewer district. A supervisor said at the end of the public hearing on September 5th, 2019, that he hopes to see people jumping into the Shinnerock Lake once again. So people, what do you think is coming after the sewers are in? Ask yourself one thing. Why didn't the town board give us options? Why are you lumping Lake Lincolndale into this district when all the reports for the past 11 years was about Shinnerock? The $10 million was allocated to Shinnerock, not to Lincolndale, and it still states that on the East of Hudson Water Quality website. Go to somersewers.com to see for yourself. It's all about more taxes. There's a lot of legal issues and serious concerns with this sewer project. We will be sharing our findings with the Comptroller Office and many of the politicians in Westchester, letting them know how the process continues to be flawed. Please vote no, and let's push for a more economical solution for those residents who need septic repaired using the $10 million. It can be done, but our town board has chosen to push their own agenda. All the development that's being done on Route 6 and every tapping into means expansions down the line. And guess who'll be paying for it all? Anyone in the sewer district. Sewers mean more development, more independent, and save your money and keep your taxes down. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm passing to the next caller.
Thank you for your comments.
This is Lisa Healy from 7 Magnolia Drive, Lake Lincolndale. Supervisor Morrissey, I'd appreciate it if you did not make faces when you didn't agree with some of the comments that are being stated, you are on camera and we can see it, and it's very disrespectful.
I'm only you.
I do, so I wanted to just make some clarifying statements regarding some of the answers and some of the statements that you raised earlier. In terms of the vote, the town board did not get the vote in place. That was the group of people who did a lot of research, spent a lot of their personal time, get a petition signed, and each signature notarized. You were going to go ahead and pass the resolutions until the opposing group pushed the vote. So don't take credit for that. Also, it is very disheartening that you have decided to bring this all up, this very divisive topic for our neighborhoods during a crisis. Also, I'm not quite sure how you are going to be able to manage an election after a federal election. So there are some concerns there as well. You also had mentioned that there are 2 catch basins in Lake Lincolndale. There are those 2 catch basins that you are speaking of, and they did work on one of the catch basins. Mike O'Keefe approved that inadequate pipe, and it backed up, and the town did come in to try to rectify it, but because it was approved with someone who doesn't have the proper information, it doesn't work and it fails. There are multiple catch basins around the lake. They're at the bottom of blocks when you walk along Lakeshore Drive North. Those basins have not been touched by the town in many years. I suggest that you put a process in place with the highway department, that they go ahead and start a list and document when they are doing this work, because they have not done it. So them saying they have done it, that is not accurate. So, and I just want to clarify, because you didn't quite answer the question about having to start from scratch. You kind of scooted around it by saying you've been talking about this for a very long time. Well, that's really not the case. So I think we can all know from your answer that if this vote does not happen, then you are starting from scratch. I'm going to be passing on the phone to the next. Hold on one second.
Joe Luciano, 10 Walker Drive.
Go ahead, Joe.
Why have you not allowed residents to speak at the meetings for more than 3 minutes when you don't hold yourself or the 3 engineers to the same limit?
Joe, it sounds like you're waiting for an answer on that one. The reason I would say is because we're responding to every individual. And if we only spoke for 3 minutes, you'd be complaining about that as well, that we're not speaking long enough. So we're trying to respond to every individual who has questions. We just spent an hour and a half answering probably 40 different questions that we were able to get information on. And so, when we don't speak enough, we get banged for it. When we speak too long, we get banged for it. So it's a no-win situation for us.
We got disconnected with him. I don't know if he hung up, but we got another caller.
We're trying to respond to every individual who has questions. We just spent, an hour and a half answering probably 40 different questions.
Okay, next caller, please identify yourself, your name, your address, and state your question. And if you have a TV on in the background, please mute it.
This is Rebecca Wenzel. I'm from 6 Olive Drive in Lake Lincolndale.
Yes, go ahead.
We got disconnected with him. I don't know if he hung up, but we got another caller. If somebody has a TV on, can you please mute it?
Sorry?
If you have TV or YouTube on in the background, can you guys please mute it?
Drive in Lake Lincolndale. Hi. So I don't know if you hung up or we got another caller.
Yeah, do we have someone on the phone?
All right, I think we're going to move on to the next caller. I don't hear that person anymore.
Sorry to add in here. It did sound like with the noise in the background that there was a bit of a delay, possibly between the broadcast and what we see here on Zoom.
Right. All right, next caller, I let you into the meeting. Please identify yourself with your name and your address.
Judy Rath, 3 Aspen Road and 6 Boxwood Drive, Lake Lincolndale. Why have you not seriously looked into the more innovative and advanced septic systems which are being installed in other towns in Westchester County and which could be a cheaper and better alternative? It's all about money, isn't it? Why have you not done a crucial environmental impact study? How is this even legal when the sewers would entail massive disruption to our environment? Roads would be dug up, lawns, walkways, rock walls, shrubs, and trees, all possibly destroyed as pipes are invasively laid down, and possible toxic construction debris runs off into our lakes. Without knowing the topography of these two communities, the results could be far worse and much more expensive than the town board states. Why are you making sewer hookups mandatory for all 989 residents when it should be optional? We have asked you numerous times why you are not doing a smaller sewer district with just those 360 Shenorock parcels that were identified in your 2015 Lake Shenorock wastewater study. Once again, you refuse to answer us. And since residents were not informed of the August 20th and September 10th meetings by letter, you did not post it in our post offices and never advertised in the Somers Record 72 hours in advance as is required, and plus the fact that you never rescheduled the public forum from March 25th due to COVID-19, we want you to reschedule all 3 meetings. We believe this entire highly contentious sewer proposal is not the result of any concern of the town board for the lakes and communities of Shenorock and Lincolndale, but an underhanded ploy to push their agenda for more development in Somers. This whole thing is all about money, and money extorted from us. Forcing this unwanted and unnecessary sewer district upon us will greatly raise our taxes. It will also promote unchecked growth. Every beautiful small wooded parcel that currently cannot be built on because of current septic restrictions will soon be demolished to make way for new and larger houses packed together. These small forested areas which give Shenorock and Lake Lincolndale so much of their unique character and special charm will be gone forever. And tragically, it is our town board members, none of who live here, who are so willing and even eager to destroy these havens that we love. And so we say, shame on you. Next person. I pass it to the next person.
Hello?
Yes, state your name.
Hi, Jay Batchelor, Ross Drive in Shenorock. On a lighter note, I don't know where you're getting your information from about approval for enhanced septic systems in Westchester. I'm reading in New York State Public Health Law 201-1, Appendix 75A, wastewater treatment standards, residential on-site systems. Not a mouthful or anything. That enhanced septic systems are in there, fully approved, in use. I can take you to one that's been in the ground for 5 years in Bedford on a new construction. I have a picture of it in my phone, or I could drive you by the house. So it just wonders me where y'all are getting your information. And another point, east of Hudson Water Quality Fund, it's my understanding that's where the 10 million comes from. I'm reading a copy off the internet. It says, among the things that are approved for that 10 million, rehabilitation or replacement of septic systems that are failing or likely to fail in certain areas. And as far as dredging goes, I spoke to a fellow from DEP today that works this area, and he says he doubts that we could get money for dredging and aerating. But this thing says, as a bottom line of things that are approved, it says any other purpose approved by New York City Department of Environmental Protection. So we would have a shot at getting approved, and it would enhance the water quality. So I would expect that since the money was already sitting in the bank, and that we weren't going to spend $62 million, we're going to spend about $3 to $5 million fixing all the septic systems, that I think we could wangle that out of them, being as how it wouldn't cost them anything they haven't already put in the bank. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Paul, next caller.
All right, next caller, please identify yourself with your name and your address. If you have the TV, mute that. Or
Rebecca Wintle from 6 Olive Drive in Lincolndale.
please get away from your television.
I am not near a television.
All right, who's ever in the background that's near a TV, please lower it or get away from it. Sorry.
Hi.
Is this better?
Yes, that is.
Okay. I just want to mention, I've been the president of the Lake Lincolndale Property Owners Association for the past 3 years. And we have
Paul, are you able to mute everybody except who's speaking? Because there's obviously somebody and there's a ton of background.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out right now. Okay, please go ahead again, ma'am. Sorry about that.
Hi, it's Rebecca Winsel again. I've been the president of the Lake Lincolndale Property Owners Association for the past 3 years. And I just wanted to, I was late getting on the meeting, so I don't know if this was spoken to before, but we as a board agreed unanimously with who was present back in October that we were in favor of the sewer districts. And also of note is a resident who was on the phone earlier, who's moving out of the neighborhood, sent a mailing to Lake Lincolndale stating that the chairman of the board, Mike O'Keefe, spoke out of turn or inappropriately at the last meeting, which was at Reese Park. What he did was said that we made a motion to decide amongst ourselves whether or not we were in favor of it, and it passed unanimously, and that's what he was referring to. He was not talking for the community of Lake Lincolndale, but as far as the Property Owners Association Board of Directors, we are in favor of the sewer district, and I'd just like to thank you for all you're doing and for the meetings and making this information available.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have one other question via the YouTube feed, so I'm going to patch that through now. Let me know if you guys can see Scott. Let me see here.
Yeah.
Scott Abrams. Let me see here. Helping this part of the lake. I don't know if that's a question we're going to answer or not. That's about all that came in on the YouTube side.
Okay, so. Oh, he's asking a question about the prior speaker, I guess.
Oh, okay, I see that. But that's all that's in the queue.
Okay, the board member need to mute themselves.
Joe Luciano didn't come back?
There's nobody in the waiting room as of now.
Okay.
Oh, we do have a 914 number that is in our meeting right now that's muted. So I'm going to ask them to unmute. And we'll see if they're going to propose a question. All right, resident with the 914 exchange, please identify yourself with your name and your address and state your question. Resident with the 914 exchange, I just led into the meeting here. Please identify yourself with your name and your question and your address. All right. That person's not answering. We have actually one other person that just tried to join. I'm going to let them in.
Okay.
Hello?
Please
This
identify.
is Joe Luciano. Joe Luciano.
Good.
Okay,
Go ahead,
Am I
Mike.
on hold?
No, you're on, you're in.
Okay. My question before that you read, and I'll rephrase it for you. Lincoln Hall currently has its own sewer system that's basically for a school. Okay? It's not set up, say, for 1,000 townhomes. So once the sewer line is brought to their doorstep with no capacity limits, if Lincoln Hall was to hook up, what is their contribution to the cost of the system being installed?
I mean, can we even answer that? I don't know. That's a what if of something that may never.
Well, it's worth millions of dollars to them, so I'm curious as to what's going to come back to the residents.
Right. So
That's a big money number for them. It totally changes the capacity of the property.
So, Roland, if, I'm going to rephrase this. If a sewer district is established and a neighboring property wants to join it, is that a possibility?
Well, remember, the county district would have to be extended to include the school property as well. And it's not been the policy of the county to allow rampant development, nor would there necessarily be capacity for such development in the Peekskill sewer plant. So I don't think that that's something that needs to be of concern. It would be a whole separate extension process at both the town level and the county level.
Would the town be obligated to approve that application to the district, Roland, or would we have the option to not do so?
Well, if the capacity existed and the county was to extend its district, you would have the obligation. You can't use infrastructure at the local level as a means to delay or prevent development. However, in the case of the school, I don't think it's zoned currently for anything that is very dense. So you would have that card to play as part of only you can amend your zoning.
And would the county would look at, if I remember correctly, talking about other projects on Route 6, they look at the total gallonage, for lack of a better word, that goes into that plant, since there is obviously a finite capacity.
Right.
Would that would be a consideration they'd have to take into account, is can they handle that, whatever that gallonage would be, right?
Correct.
And what would our fight be if the county decides to put low-income housing on Lincoln Hall's property with a sewer line?
I don't think they can put low-income housing there.
It's private property.
We would have to change the zoning.
That changed a lot of things.
But they wouldn't be able to do it without the proper zoning. And only you can change your zoning.
Right, and any
Thank
kind
you,
of
gentlemen.
any kind of a zoning change or amendment is subject to public hearing and input from the community. Anything else, Joe?
No, he exited. He already said thank you and exited.
All right,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I have nobody else in the waiting room.
Let me check the emails one more time just to make sure. No, I don't see any. I think we're good.
Okay. Paul, anybody on hold or
Nope,
still trying to get in?
no.
Patty, any texts or anything on your end?
I've been reading all the texts. We're good.
Okay. Okay. Seeing and hearing that there's no more comment on the public hearing for the establishment of Somers Sewer District Number 2, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. All right, so moved. Okay, we have a number of actions to take.
Pardon me, Supervisor, we just had somebody call in after you guys approved that.
Well, the hearing's closed now.
Yeah.
So
We could hear them.
you could take that call offline and get their question. We could still answer questions offline, but the public hearing is now closed.
All right. I'll let them in.
Okay.
All right, resident I just let into the meeting, please identify yourself with your name and your address and state
Now,
your.
Paul, we just closed the public hearing.
Thomas Smith. Hello. Hello, Tommy Smith. Yeah, I've been on hold trying to get through.
I'm sorry about that.
Your call here. What do we do?
You closed the public hearing. I mean, can he respond? How are you going to do this? You can't reopen the public hearing. You can let him speak, but it's not part of the record.
Okay. All right, Tom Smith. You're addressing the board outside of the public hearing. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tom.
Sounds like we lost them.
Yeah. It says he's still in our meeting, but he's muted himself or something. I cannot hear him.
Sound like Tom Smith.
Well, I would just proceed with your meeting and not take any more calls.
Right, okay. All right, so the first order of business for the establishment of the sewer district is to adopt a negative declaration. Town of Somers has heretofore made environmental determination for the reasons stated in the resolution, Part 617 of the implementing regulations pertaining to Article 8, State Environmental Quality Review Act. The creation of Somers District Number 2 will not have a significant impact on the environment. So is this a roll call vote?
Should be, yes.
Okay. So the question of adoption of the foregoing resolution was put to a vote, a roll call vote. So we're declaring a negative declaration on the sewer project.
Second.
So moved. Patty, you want to take a roll call?
Councilman William G. Faulkner,
Aye.
Councilman Richard G. Clinchie,
Aye.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirico,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas A. Garrity Jr.,
Yes.
Supervisor Rick Morrissey.
Aye. Okay, the next resolution to be moved is an amended resolution making certain determinations in relation to the proposed establishment of Somers Sewer District Number 2 in the town of Somers. Okay, whereas the town board has duly considered said petition, map plan, and report, and the evidence given at said public hearings, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Somers, Westchester County, New York, as follows. Section 1, upon evidence given in the aforementioned public hearings, it is hereby found and determined as follow. The notices of hearings were published and posted as required by law, are otherwise sufficient. All property and property owners within the proposed district are benefited thereby. All the property and property owners benefited are included within the limits of said proposed district, and it is in the public interest to grant in full the relief sought. The resolution shall be take effect immediately. The question of adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly put to the board, and I'll make a motion to approve the determination.
It
Second.
requires a roll call.
Okay, and then I'm going to ask Patty for a roll call.
Councilman William G. Faulkner,
Aye.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirico,
Aye.
Councilman Richard G. Clinchie,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas A. Jr.,
Yes.
Supervisor Rick Morrissey.
Aye. Okay, our next resolution for consideration is an amendment resolution approving the establishment of the Somers Sewer District in the town of Somers, subject to mandatory referendum.
Again, it requires a roll call.
Okay, Patty, a roll call?
Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman William G. Faulkner,
Aye.
Councilman Richard G. Clinchie,
Yes.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirico,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas A. Garrity Jr.,
Yes.
Supervisor Rick Morrissey.
Aye. Okay, thank you. The next resolution, this is the resolve that the attached application be prepared to town of Somers, that the board believes the contents of the application accurate. The board determined that the formation of the district is improvements proposed and the rendering of services in connection hereto within for which permission is sought. And this is,
It's for the state controller.
this is going to the state controller. Oh, yes, here it is. Resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to file said application with the state controller of the state of New York for the permission to establish Somers Sewer District Number 2. Patty, roll call?
I have a second?
Second.
Councilman William G. Faulkner,
Aye.
Councilman Richard G. Clinchy,
Yes.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirico,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas A. Garrity Jr.,
Yes.
Supervisor Rick Morrissey.
Aye. Next resolution is resolved that upon the preparation therefore of the supervisor to be authorized to execute and file same with the Board of Legislators of Westchester County. Do I have a second?
Second.
Patty, roll call?
Councilman William G. Faulkner,
Aye.
Councilman Richard G. Clinchy,
Yes.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirico,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas A. Garrity Jr.,
Yes.
Supervisor Rick Morrissey.
Aye. And then our final resolution is resolved that a mandatory referendum vote will be held on November 10th, 2020. Second,
Second.
roll call?
Councilman William G. Faulkner,
Aye.
Councilman Richard G. Clinchy,
Yes.
Councilman Anthony J. Sirico,
Aye.
Councilman Thomas A. Garrity Jr.,
Yes.
Supervisor Rick Morrissey.
Aye. Okay, so that concludes our public hearing and resolutions on the formation of the district. I, for one, am pleased that we are able to include absentee voting because I stated this early on that I thought it was important for everybody to be represented in this vote. And to all those opposed and for all those for this, everyone is going to get a chance to exercise their right to vote on this project. So no matter what the outcome, on November 10th, 2020, we will hold a vote via a voting machine from the BOE, Board of Elections, and absentee ballots will be collected as well. Okay, the next item on our agenda is public hearing.
Hey,
Excuse me. Comment?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick comment. I want to thank everybody here on the board. I want to thank Patty and Roland and Joe and Steve. You know, we've been doing this for a long time. You know, Rich and I for 13 years. And then before that, Rich was on the school board and I was on planning and zoning, and everybody else has been on other boards. And I got to say, in 20 years, this has been the most disheartening set of meetings. You know, I usually, you know, when Rich and I originally ran, we ran sort of as consensus builders and get the vitriol out of the meetings. And since we've been on it and with you folk, it's been, they've always been positive. We don't always agree. We don't always agree with the public, but it's been a sense of mutual respect. And over the last year, I've heard things that somehow we're lining our pockets or we're making money or we have ulterior motives with no, and I'm sorry, I know people are looking at home now going, you know, it's true, but we don't. You know, we are doing things. This has been going on for a long time. We've been doing things that we do believe are good for the town. We're not doing it to help big builders. We're not doing it to raise taxes. We're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And you might disagree with us, and that's fine. It's good to have civil discourse, but it's not right to accuse people. You know, my son wants to watch some of these meetings, and lately I've told him, Tommy, don't bother because you're just going to get angry. And I have a thick skin, but it's just been, you know, just being accused of things with no basis in reality. And there's certain people who we disagree with who are fine, and I meet them at the deli and we chat. And there are certain people who they just won't, you know, they won't get it out of their minds that you're doing something that for an ulterior motive. And you know, we've had disagreements all the time. I mean, heck, Rick, I've said this before, Rich and I ran against each other years ago, and now we consider, well, I consider him, I think he does too, each other very good friends. And that's the same with a lot of other people who we don't agree with. So I just hope that we can move forward with this vote. Whatever the will of the people is in this district will stand. You know, we have our opinions, but if so many people have indicated, we don't get a vote. But hopefully we can get back to the civil discourse that we've had over the last 20 years that I've been involved in planning, zoning, and now the town board. You know, I look at this meeting tonight, I'm sorry if I'm going on a little bit, I apologize, but I look at this meeting tonight and then I compare it to what I've been doing, Rich and I in the NYSEG task force, and then I've been chairing the reopening COVID task force. And I have to tell you, with all the problems we've been having, it's been a joy to do those things because it's people working together to try and get something done that's going to help the town, both from the NYSEG standpoint and from the reopening standpoint. We put together the plan, as I said last week, you know, with Patty's help and others. And we don't agree on everything, but we talk about it, we discuss it, and we move forward with what we want to do. So I know this is a contentious point, but I just, again, I want to get back to where my 13-year-old daughter could watch a meeting to see what her father's doing without me having to say, hey, Brenna, you may not want to watch this meeting tonight because they're going to say some things about your father that they believe but aren't true. So I thank you all. I tend to not keep a cool head as much as everybody else here on the town board, as you know, and I tend to, always say what I think. But I appreciate everybody's hard work on this. It's been tough. It's the toughest thing I've had to deal with probably in the 13 years on the town board and on the planning zoning for 8, where we've done cell towers, we've done, other things that have not been, universally accepted. So I thank you, and Rick, you've taken the brunt of it because we tend to be sort of in the back. You've handled it like a champ. They've made some comments that are so totally uncalled for, I won't even bring them back up.
Thank you.
But I think you've done a great job. I think obviously some mistakes were made on information. We tried to remedy it. We tried to correct it, and I appreciate everybody else who's been involved in this. So that's just my 2 cents. I was thinking about it during this meeting when I was going, why do I do this again? But that was just a couple of comments. So thank you very much and nice job, Rick.
Rick, if I can just add to my friend Tom's comments, if I may, just a couple of things that I did notice. People said, oh, you're doing this to raise taxes. Let's be clear that no one's taxes on their property can be raised because the town has improved the capital resources of the town. You can check that out with our town assessor. I did. You cannot have your house taxes raised because the streets are better or there's a sewer or anything like that. So if the value of the house is greater when it gets sold, maybe there would be a change in taxes, but the homeowner will not do that. So I just want to make sure that that is true. If you believe that Shenorock and Lincolndale are better off forever if they never have sewers, that they always have septics, if you believe they're always better with septic, then I suppose you should vote no. But if you believe that at some point you're better off with sewers, this is the time to do it. This is the time that is ripe. The cost, I was talking to a friend of mine who has a house in another place, and he said, what's the cost for the first people who go in? I said, $500 something a year. He said, oh my God, I wish that was me. He said, mine went into thousands. So I think it is a good deal, and we're not going to go forward until we have funding in place. And it's not going to be all on borrowing. We have grants in place. It's not going to go forward. And no one is going to pay who's in phase 2, because that was brought up early, and that seems to be reasonable. I don't know why it was an issue with the county. If you're not benefiting yet, I don't see why you'd have to pay. So that has been corrected. Some people said that the town board is forcing it down their throats. I know they felt that way because they didn't agree with what we were doing. But remember, it's a referendum. Nobody is going to do that. It's the vote now that counts of the people. It's democracy. And some might say, well, if I don't want it, why do I have to pay it? Well, there is that part of being a democracy. When I was on the school board, when I was president of the school board, people said the same thing. If I don't have kids, how come I'm paying school taxes? Well, because we're all better off when the schools exist. So we all pay for taxes because we all benefit. Maybe not as directly as if you have children, but we all benefit, and the town benefits, and it becomes a more attractive town to move into. I believe that would happen with these sewers. But the people will decide who are directly affected. And there's, as Tom said, there's reasonable people on both sides who express it, their opinion. I would just hope that whatever happens between now and November 10th, it is always with the principle that I know Tom and I came on the town board. I know that Bill and Anthony and Rick agree to, and almost all people do, is that reasonable people can agree to disagree reasonably and respectfully. And that's what should happen in democracy. And that's how we do make progress. If we all agree on something, you only need one person in a room. And so that disagreement is good. And it has been good for this process. As people have brought up things, they have made the proposal better. And it's now the best proposal that it's been over the last year. So those people deserve some credit. But I do hope that whatever happens, it is courteous, it is respectful, it is reasonable dialogue between those who will favor and those who may not favor the creation of the district. So thanks to all those who've taken part, either via the Zoom or in public meetings, obviously the town board and all of our engineers and our town attorney. So thank you.
That's why I hate going before Rich. He always sounds so much better than me, but I still love him.
Well, I have to just say that, the vitriol and the folks that are just, taking a very Machiavellian view as to, what we're talking about and, propagating the worst possible circumstances. It's not comfortable to listen to and deal with it. But, we have the best interests of everyone involved. Once the first phase is complete, there's going to be plenty of opportunity for the public to participate in the next steps of this. But they have to just, be involved as well. And I think there'll be opportunity to do that. But first things first, they'll have to, vote on the district. And, we'll see how that goes. So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night, Joe. Okay. So thanks for your comments, gentlemen, and let's move on to public comment. I'll make a motion to open public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we already did that.
So moved.
Well, this is public comment.
No, I thought we did public comment beforehand. I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, that was public hearing. All right. So is anyone there for public comment?
Nothing on my side.
Nope.
Okay. All right. As I've done in the past, we'll leave public comment open in case someone catches up. And Patty, remind me, I don't close the meeting without closing public comment. Thank you. Okay. So the item number 1 is the Town of Somers COVID update. So this is not, excuse me?
Let's just do department reports quick.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. We have
Department
reports from the
reports, Patty.
town clerk, building inspector, zoning board of appeals, plumbing bureau, fire prevention, parks and recreation, planning and engineering, tax receiver, and director of finance. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the Town of Somers COVID update. This has not been a good week in the Town of Somers.
Hello.
We are up to 432 positive cases in the town since the beginning of the outbreak. August 10th, we were at 407. Now we're at 432. We have 17 active cases in our community right now. We just had 10 the other day. We had 3 today. which brings a total of 13 new cases in our community this week. But I've been in touch with the Department of Health to try to figure out, is there a reason for this? Is there an outbreak in the town that we should know about, that we could do something about with our community? And the thought process is that this may be kids returning to college, being tested as they go to college, and those college students putting down their home addresses, which they should, and those kids testing positive are now showing up as positive in the town of Somers. So New York State colleges are sending kids home. So that may be an indication that some of these active cases now are home isolated. But if you're out of state, I went through a list of universities setting up isolation dorms. When these kids test positive, they check in to the isolation dorm for 14 days. So it's really unclear at this point. I can't say specifically that it's because of these tests, but as you all well know, COVID testing continues. Kids are going back to school, and that's one of the only indicators that we're drawing the conclusion that it could possibly be college kids getting tested. The other thing the commissioner wanted me to pass along was, as you know, whenever they get a positive case, New York State, Westchester County, and there are paid contact tracers. So these tracers are really, the purpose of the tracing is to find out who a positive case had contact with, contact those people so they are aware they've been exposed and they don't go out and infect any more people. So it's really not to find out where they got COVID. It's really to stem the infection. And to that end, contact tracers from New York State, the county, and these paid contact tracers are contacting people on the phone. And what's happening is people aren't cooperating. They're not picking up the phone. It could be an ID on the phone. It says New York State, Westchester County, or COVID testing, COVID tracking. So if any of those things pop up on your phone, you better answer that phone, because you may have been or are part of this contact tracing. And if we're gonna stem the tide of this pandemic, we need the cooperation of every resident in town. And I have high hopes for the town of Somers School District. We know that they put a lot of things in place to keep these students safe and socially distant. So time will tell. Let's hope our students remain healthy, and that the spike that we saw this week does not continue.
Hey, Rick?
Yes.
If I could just jump on real quick, I will say this, just everybody, as you probably already experienced it, we need to give the school a little time to acclimate to the new reality. I know the traffic has been very busy because a lot more people are dropping their kids off. They've changed the pattern. I know at the middle school, my daughter is obviously in 8th grade. So far from a learning standpoint, it's been great. It's been different with the the red team and the white team, and when you're in school and when you're not in school. But just give yourself some more time if you're going by any of the schools during morning rush hour when the buses are out there, because it's going to take a little bit longer until they get into the routine that they've always had. So try not to be angry in the car. Try and turn the radio up, listen to some music, and leave 10 minutes earlier.
The voice of reason. Thank you.
Yeah, who would have thought that was me?
Yeah, hey,
I second that.
it's a well-balanced comment. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is to authorize the re-solicitation of a request for proposals from the companies that can provide a contract to furnish emergency and non-emergency services for HVAC. And I'm going to lump this in with the next one, which is authorize the re-solicitation for bids for companies that can provide a contract to furnish delivery of number 2 TW fuel. Now, just as a reminder, we had combined those into one bid and did not get a response. So now we're breaking those two apart. So I'm gonna make a motion to authorize the resolicitation of emergency and non-emergency services for HVAC and authorize the resolicitation for bids for delivery of fuel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so moved. All right, brings us to current vacancies, affordable housing, library board, partners in prevention. I think these are all posted on our website, but if you're out there and want to get involved, please give these boards a look. I want to acknowledge, there's an upcoming vacancy on the Assessment Board of Review. It's 1 to 5 year term ending.
It's a 1 5-year term.
Yeah, 1 5-year term. So it's going to be ending in 2025. And then number 3 on the under personnel is acknowledge the resignation of Aaron Westerman as a member of the Somers Library Board of Trustees, effective August 31st, 2020. And I would just like to say, Ann was the treasurer of the library board and was very effective in presenting their budget to the town board every year in a very professional manner. So, Ann, we thank you for your service to the town via the library board of trustees.
And that is a loss. She was a dedicated member of that. She advocated for the library, as we all know, and she was committed to her job there and committed to the library. So certainly the library will miss her.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, moving along to the consensus agenda. Items 1 through 6. There's no comments or questions on those.
Now, we want to thank Greg Naranka again, retiring after 32 years, obviously.
Yes. Yeah, he's going to be well missed. And I'm sure he's going to be in the community, so we'll see him along and around, and possibly when we get back to in-face meetings, we'll have him come in to a town board meeting so we can appropriately thank him for his dedicated service to the town.
Yeah, good idea.
Good idea.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion to approve consensus items 1 through 6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So moved. Okay. Our next meeting will be October 1st, which will be a work session. And Patty, do we have some announcements tonight?
First, we need to close public comment.
But somebody had texted me about getting into it. So Paul, do we have anybody waiting on public comment?
No, we do not.
All right, maybe they decided not to.
Okay, so once again, you can email the town board with any questions, concerns that you have, and we'll be more than happy to get back to you.
So you want to close the comment, public comment?
Yes,
right?
I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so moved. And Patty, some announcements?
Okay, so our announcements for September 10th. Tomorrow, September 11th, Patriots Day, there will be a virtual remembrance ceremony at 10, 12:30, 3, 5, 7, and 9 on Cablevision Channel 20, Comcast Channel 12, and the Town of Somers and Somers Historical Society channels. The 2020 census, our responses total for September 8th, we've now gone above our 2010 response rate. So we're doing well, but we're only at 74% and want to get that to 100.
Correct.
The county and the state levels are still under what they were in 2010. But we're doing well, Somers.
Yes, we're doing a good job, and frankly, that's a lot of thanks goes out to Jack Matz from Heritage, who's kind of taken up this cause for the town, and so thanks to Jack. And we will be putting up some signage within. I think the census ends the end of this month. So we're gonna just be putting some reminders up and a banner at Bailey Park. But look, it's very easy to register for the census, and it's very, very important for local governments to get all its residents counted. Thanks.
Okay, there's a community solar event on Wednesday, September 16th. There's 2 sessions, 12 to 1 and a 5:30 to 6 via Zoom. A registration is required, and that is available on our town website. And then the Westchester County Mobile Shredder is coming to Somers on Tuesday, October 27th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Reese Park. Due to COVID, they're asking all residents to stay in your cars, and people will come and collect your boxes.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, that concludes our meeting, our regular meeting of September. Any concerns, announcements, things you want to mention, gentlemen?
Yeah, just a congratulations to all the kids coming back to school, and they're actually going to be in school, even though on a part-time basis. So congratulations to all our returning students. Congratulations to the class of 2024, the freshmen of Somers High School, particularly one Thomas Burward, who's going to be fabulous, I'm sure, once he gets there.
Good. Okay.
I want to congratulate my son who had his first individual radio show at Susquehanna University tonight.
All right.
Thursday and Friday drive time for an hour. So good luck to him.
Can we tune in?
You can. I'll tell you guys offline.
He's the next Don Imus.
Yeah, he must be a rising star. So here's an arriving freshman who gets on the radio station even before school starts.
That's
So
right.
I'm not surprised to hear him as a slot already.
Yeah, he's having ball. And his school, I got to say, his school has had like 0 cases of COVID. They
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's
So Tom, on the schools, they're on half day right now, correct? I think. And
Their full day starts tomorrow. So Brennan is on the red team. So she went a half day today, and Tuesday she'll go for a full day tomorrow. I know in the middle school, it's a block schedule for 2 of the grades. So they basically do 4 periods in a full day, and they're just double the length.
So the traffic patterns will change a little bit, right?
Well, the morning traffic pattern will stay the same. The afternoon traffic pattern will be the regular dismissal time.
Yeah.
right. And K through 6 are starting full days tomorrow.
Yeah,
Right. They're all day.
Right.
Everybody, I should say everybody all day.
Right.
It's it's an exhausting process for everyone, I'm sure, getting that squared away. There's a lot to cover.
Yeah, this is unfortunately the new normal. It's
And football got moved to March.
They
Football,
did.
volleyball, cheerleading, I think.
All fall sports.
Not all fall sports, just that.
Well, no, I'm sorry, the higher contact. And I guess they're going to make a decision on winter sports for anybody who's interested in high school basketball. I know nobody on this call is. They're going to make that decision, I think, by November 30th. if I read
Well,
correctly?
it's supposed to be November 30th now. Personally, I can't see that happening, but yeah, that's
neither
what's
can I,
supposed to start
but-
November 30th. But I think that, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do, but it's hard to see that.
I think soccer's going
Wow.
to proceed.
Soccer is still scheduled to start on September
So, and Rich,
29th in
29th,
section,
okay.
in section
Yeah, I'm
1. Rest of the state's the 21st, section 1 decided 29th, but I think they're still just buying time. That's my opinion. They're just buying time to see what the numbers are like in the school before really going forward.
yeah,
Right, I agree. Good luck to them. That Somers, as we talked about at the last meeting, was sort of ahead of the curve. They, we're one of the few schools in the area that's having at least a hybrid schedule or full for the younger kids. So Ray and the team did a good job.
okay, and just before closing, I want to thank Tony and Bill. They hosted their first telecommunications task force meeting this past Tuesday evening. I understand it was a very good meeting, and they're going to be scheduling more meetings in the future. So thanks for doing
Tony,
that.
did you have a representative from the school there or no? I had reached out to Ray. He was going to get back to me with somebody, so he's going to get back to me with the name and I'll know.
That's good. We have to get somebody from, well, we had the fire department there. We need to get somebody from the police department, although they were on copy of all that. It's only the beginning, so plenty of time to get going. We have a group of people that are very talented, some of them professionally involved in various areas. So that, that's all, that's very well. They
Okay, I'll
also
follow up with
understand the
Ray.
limits and the strengths of what we're trying to accomplish. Bill, you want to say anything?
Sure. Yeah, it was a good meeting. We got great turnout, more people to come. We kept the scope of the meeting very focused on the scope of the task force. We've got the components of our mission statement. We don't want to overreach. So with a mission statement and our goals and objectives, I think that already we have a meeting of the minds. The ultimate goal and objective is reliability.
So I also know that, Rick, you've been talking to other towns as well. I've been, including them on some of the correspondence. So I think that there's a lot of interest in what we're doing. The Public Service Commission issued a notice of apparent violation to Altice, which essentially couches all the things that we put in our note. It's not only us, but as well as other communities as well. So that will be put on the website, and I, encourage everybody to review. I think we have a lot of leverage there. We're going to have some regulatory leverage, and we're going to also have, leverage from just the communities and the public, being in an outrage about this whole thing. And we're going to try to push this as far as we can. And as you guys said, and as we experienced, it's going to take a while to get them to move on anything. But the goal is to bring them to the table and to make some adjustments in terms of their practices. And we know that some of their practices are very deficient.
Good luck
Right.
with it.
Yeah, thanks.
No, thanks again, guys. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. And good night, Stomers.
Good night, everyone.
And I.
All right, thank you.
Night,
Thank
everyone.
you, Roland.
Thank you, Paul.
Good job. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Paul.